What would you do if, just an hour before saying, "I do," you discovered that the man you love and your maid of honor, your best friend, were betraying you? And worse, you're 5 months pregnant with his child? This story has twists you won't see coming, because what the bride did next changed everything. The morning light filtered softly through the sheer curtains of the luxurious Seacliff Hotel's bridal suite, casting a golden hue across Lily Anderson's face. She stood in front of a full-length mirror, glowing in a custom-designed silk wedding gown that gracefully embraced her 5-month baby bump. Her reflection stared back with hopeful, gleaming eyes. She gently laid a hand on her round stomach, feeling the faint flutter of life within. "There you are, little one," she whispered. "Today's the day Mommy becomes Mrs. Turner." The words tasted like a long-awaited dream fulfilled. At 33, Lily had spent her adult life caring for others. As a pediatric nurse at Seattle Children's Hospital, she had earned a reputation for her deep empathy, comforting both frightened kids and anxious parents. Today, surrounded by fragrant imported peonies and the clink of champagne flutes, she allowed herself for once to be at the center of attention. A knock broke her reverie. "Come in," Lily called, turning away from the mirror. Emma Grayson swept into the room, already dressed in her emerald green maid of honor gown, the color setting off her auburn curls. She carried 2 flutes, only orange juice in Lily's glass. "To my best friend," Emma grinned, handing Lily a glass. "The most beautiful bride Seattle's ever seen." Lily accepted the drink, her gaze catching the subtle tremble in Emma's hand. "Everything okay, Em?" "Just wedding nerves by proxy," Emma replied, laughing, but the sound felt a bit off. It didn't quite reach her eyes. She glanced quickly at her phone, tapping the screen dark before Lily could peek. "Shouldn't I be the one nervous?" Lily teased. "You're not the one getting married in." She checked her diamond-studded watch. Exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes. Lily took a sip of juice. "I've never been more sure about anything." And she meant it. After 3 years with Ethan Turner, she believed he was everything she'd ever dreamed of. Driven, magnetic, and seemingly devoted to her and their unborn child. The door opened again, and Thomas Anderson stepped inside, stopping short at the sight of his daughter. "Sunshine," he breathed, his weathered face softening. At 65, Thomas still stood tall, his silver-streaked hair the only sign of aging. "You look just like your mother." Lily crossed to her father, taking his hands. "Tell me about her again, Dad. What would she say today?" Thomas's eyes misted. "Anna would say what I'm saying now, that you deserve every happiness this life can offer." He cupped Lily's cheek. "She'd be so proud of the woman you've become." Lily was just 8 when her mother passed from breast cancer. Thomas had raised her alone, never remarrying, pouring all his love into his daughter. "I wouldn't be here without you," Lily whispered. Thomas shook his head. "Don't sell yourself short, Sunshine. You've earned this with your heart and hard work." His eyes flicked toward Emma, who was texting rapidly again. "Though I'll say, you've had some good people in your corner too." Emma looked up, startled, and tucked her phone away with unusual speed. "Sorry. Client crisis. One of the sponsors is threatening to pull out." As head of a boutique PR firm, Emma was no stranger to last-minute emergencies. Still, Lily found it strange she was handling one on her best friend's wedding day. "Is it serious?" Thomas asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's fine," Lily assured them both. "Go handle it, Em. Just be back in time for final makeup, okay?" Emma nodded gratefully, already backing toward the door. 30 minutes tops, I promise." The click of her heels faded down the hallway. Thomas watched her leave, his expression thoughtful. "She's acting a little off today." "Dad," Lily said gently, "she's under pressure. Not everyone has your calm." "Not strange," he clarified. "Distracted, like she's thinking about something else entirely." Their bond had only grown stronger over the years. Lily's academic milestones, her journey through nursing school, and now, her step into marriage and motherhood. "I wouldn't be here without you, Dad," Lily said, giving his hands a gentle squeeze. "Don't sell yourself short, Sunshine," Thomas replied. "You've earned everything with your own drive and that enormous heart of yours." He glanced toward Emma, who was once again absorbed in her phone, texting with rapid urgency. "Though I have to say, you've had some great people in your corner too." Emma looked up, slipping her phone into her clutch with a quick, guilty motion. "Sorry, work emergency." One of my firm's top clients, the Mitchell campaign, is threatening to pull out. As the owner of a boutique marketing agency, Emma was used to last-minute chaos. Still, Lily found it odd she'd be dealing with such a crisis today of all days. On Lily's wedding day? Thomas raised an eyebrow. It's fine, Lily cut in gently, ever the mediator. Em, take care of it. Just be back in time for final makeup, okay? Emma nodded, clearly grateful. 30 minutes max. Promise. She slipped out of the suite, her heels clicking down the hallway. Thomas watched her go, eyes narrowing. She's acting a little strange today. Dad, Lily chided with a soft smile. She's under pressure. Not everyone has your nerves of steel. Not strange, he clarified. Distracted, like her mind somewhere else entirely. Lily turned back to the mirror, adjusting the delicate pearl hairpin her father had gifted her that morning. Something old, something new, she said softly. It's a big day for everyone, not just me. Emma and I have been best friends since freshman year at University of Washington. She's the one who introduced me to Ethan, remember? Thomas nodded, though his expression remained thoughtful. I remember. It was that benefit for the children's oncology wing. Lily smiled at the memory. She'd been helping coordinate the silent auction when Emma had shown up with Ethan. This is the guy I've been telling you about, Emma had said. Ethan Turner, rising star in investment banking and, more importantly, single. From that moment on, Ethan had pursued Lily with unwavering focus. Bouquets at her apartment, surprise dinner reservations at the most exclusive spots in Seattle. Within 6 months, they were inseparable. When Lily found out she was pregnant, a surprise, but not an unwelcome one, Ethan had proposed right away. He'd slipped a 3-carat diamond ring on her finger, one that still felt impossibly heavy. What are you thinking about? Thomas asked, watching her reflection closely. How lucky I am, Lily replied, to have found Ethan, to be having this baby, to have you and Emma by my side. By my side, Lily said, turning to face her father. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Does that sound crazy? Thomas's expression softened. It sounds human, sunshine. The best things in life can be the hardest to trust. Lily gave a small, brittle smile, but her eyes didn't quite match it. Deep inside, a quiet voice had been whispering doubts for weeks, the same voice that always grew louder before something in her life broke apart. Maybe it was the stress, or maybe it was because her mother wasn't here, the one person who always knew how to ease her worries before big life moments. The wedding gown felt heavier than it should, the silence in the suite too loud. Was this just nerves? Or something else? A soft knock interrupted the moment. Miss Anderson? A voice called from the hallway. Thomas opened the door to reveal a young man in hotel uniform, balancing a covered tray. I didn't order anything, Lily said, confused. Compliments of the wedding planner, ma'am, the server explained, stepping into the suite and setting the tray on a nearby table. As he straightened, his eyes met Lily's, and something in his expression, a mix of discomfort and sympathy, made her stomach twist. Is everything okay? She asked. The server, Michael, according to his name tag, glanced toward the door, then leaned in slightly. There's an envelope under the dome, ma'am, he said in a low voice. I think you should read it privately. Thomas stepped forward instinctively. What's this about, young man? Michael swallowed hard. I'm just the messenger, sir, but if it were my sister getting married today, I'd want her to know. With that cryptic statement, he backed toward the door. Congratulations on your wedding, Miss Anderson. The door clicked shut behind him. Lily and Thomas exchanged a wary glance. She stepped toward the tray and lifted the silver dome. Beneath it was a sealed envelope. Her name, Lily Anderson, was written across the front in an unfamiliar hand. With trembling fingers, she picked it up. You don't have to open that, Thomas said gently, concern in his voice. Not today. Whatever it is, it can wait. Lily stared at the envelope, a cold weight pressing into her chest. She could hear the faint echo of her mother's voice, telling her to breathe, to trust love. But her mother wasn't here. She felt suddenly young again, unmoored, as if she were about to fail a test she hadn't studied for. There had been signs, hadn't there? Emma's absences, Ethan's polished charm hiding too many blank spaces, and Lily, she'd ignored them all, clinging to hope like a child clutching a fraying ribbon. No, Dad, I don't think it can. She slid her finger beneath the flap, tearing it open. Inside was a single sheet of hotel stationery and a small USB drive. The note was short. Miss Anderson, I'm sorry to intrude on your wedding day, but you deserve to know what's happening behind your back. Your fiancé and maid of honor are currently in the men's room on the mezzanine level. This isn't the first time. The USB contains security footage from the bar last night. I'll be on duty until 3 p.m. if you need anything. Michael Torres, Hotel Security. Lily read the note twice. Her vision blurred. The words refused to settle into sense. Her brain resisted. Ethan and Emma? It couldn't be. Emma had been her closest friend for 15 years. She'd introduced Lily to Ethan. She was going to be the godmother to their baby. Lily? Thomas's voice sounded far away. She handed him the note without speaking. Then she sank onto the edge of the bed, her legs suddenly unable to support her. Her baby kicked hard, as if sensing her distress. Thomas's face darkened as he read the note. That lying son of a... He cut himself off, exhaling deeply. Sunshine? This could be a mistake, or someone stirring up trouble, Thomas said cautiously. But Lily shook her head slowly, the weight of realization settling over her as painful clarity began to form. Emma's jittery behavior that morning, the furtive glances at her phone, all those late nights at the office, the canceled brunches, the missed phone calls. Even that strange, almost assessing look Emma sometimes gave Lily's growing belly when she thought Lily wasn't looking. I need to see for myself, Lily said, standing up with a new steadiness. She slipped the USB into the pocket of her robe and turned toward the door. You can't go wandering around the hotel in your wedding dress, Thomas protested. Lily paused, hand on the doorknob. Her reflection in the full-length mirror caught her eye. A bride, yes, but something in her face had shifted. The vulnerability had been replaced with resolve. You're right, she said quietly. Help me change, Dad. I need to know the truth before I walk down that aisle. Thomas helped her out of the gown and into a simple summer dress that still accommodated her pregnancy. As he adjusted the hem, Lily's mind raced. Possibilities. Denials. But deep down, deep in a place she rarely dared to acknowledge, there had always been a voice. A quiet, nagging whisper that told her something about Ethan didn't quite sit right. Moments when his affection felt a little too scripted. Times when Emma's support felt like it was layered with something else. What Lily once read as jealousy now twisted itself into guilt. 10 minutes later, Lily emerged from the suite. Her hair pinned up beneath a wide-brimmed hat, her dress light and breezy. Thomas had wanted to come along, but she'd refused. If it turns out to be nothing, I don't want you to remember me doubting him, she had said softly. And if it's something, I need to face it myself. As the elevator descended toward the mezzanine level, Lily pressed her hand protectively over her belly. Her baby shifted slightly beneath her palm, grounding her. She wasn't truly alone. The doors slid open with a soft chime, revealing the richly decorated hallway of the Seacliff's mezzanine level. The men's restroom was down past the sweeping staircase, the very one Lily was supposed to descend in 2 hours as a bride. Each step echoed louder than the last. Her heart pounded. 20 feet from the bathroom, she heard it, Emma's voice. That unmistakable laugh, followed by the low, smooth tone that could only be Ethan. Lily froze, breath caught in her throat. A hotel staff member rounded the corner, nodding politely. His presence snapped her out of the trance. She couldn't just stand there and be discovered. In soft sandals, she moved silently. Closer. Closer. The bathroom door was slightly ajar. Through the narrow gap, she saw the edge of a counter and a sliver of mirror. Getting cold feet? Emma's voice drifted out, light and teasing, far too intimate. Please, Ethan replied, his voice dismissive. It's all part of the plan, babe, Ethan said casually. Once we're married, I'll have access to Thomas's connections. The man practically runs half the medical boards in the Pacific Northwest. And the baby? Emma asked, her voice dropping to a hush. There was a pause before Ethan responded. A necessary compromise. Lily was getting jittery about commitment. The pregnancy just sped up the timeline, that's all. I'll be the picture-perfect dad in public, he continued. What happens behind closed doors? That's our business. Lily's hand flew to her mouth, suppressing the gasp threatening to escape. The baby, her child, was just a complication to him. A pawn in his scheme to leverage her father's influence. You're so bad, Emma giggled, the sound sending a wave of nausea through Lily. What about after the wedding? She asked. How long before we can stop pretending? A year, maybe 2, Ethan replied. Let Lily play house. I build my network through Thomas. Then, when she's neck-deep in baby fever, the marriage starts to fall apart. No one will blame me for leaving. You and I lay low for a bit, then go public. By then, your firm's gotten a boost from my contacts too. He laughed, low and smug. And I can finally stop pretending to care about her never-ending baby talk. Lily couldn't listen to another word. She backed away from the door, vision narrowing as shock morphed into a razor-edged fury. Somehow, she made it back to the elevator. Every step robotic. Inside, she hit the button for her floor, then leaned against the wall, gasping for air. The betrayal wasn't just about cheating, it was the manipulation, the utter mockery of everything she thought was real. Her fiancé and her best friend, her most trusted people, had turned her love into a stepping stone for their own ambitions. When the elevator doors opened, Lily stepped out a different woman from the one who had looked at herself in the mirror an hour ago. Her joy was gone, replaced with a cold clarity. She walked back to the suite, her mind set. Thomas looked up the moment she entered, his face tight with worry. Sunshine. What happened? Lily met her father's gaze, her voice steady despite the war inside her. Dad, I need your help. We're still having a wedding today, but it's not going to end the way anyone expects. What do you mean? Thomas asked, his brow furrowed as he approached her. What exactly did you see down there? Lily sank into the armchair near the window, her knees finally giving out. She clutched the USB drive in her hand, its weight somehow heavier now. Everything was a lie, Dad. Every moment, every promise. Her voice was eerily calm, masking the storm beneath. I need to see what's on this. Thomas nodded and retrieved his laptop from his overnight bag. He set it on the side table and inserted the USB as Lily began to recount what she'd just heard. What Lily had just overheard, she recounted like a clinical report. Facts stated plainly, as if she were detailing symptoms on a chart instead of the destruction of her own future. The video loaded. It was security footage from the Seacliffs bar the night before. There they were, Ethan and Emma, tucked into a booth, heads tilted close, completely immersed in each other. Their body language spoke volumes. No viewer could mistake it. Hands lingering on arms, foreheads nearly touching, Emma's fingers lightly tracing down Ethan's chest. At one point, Ethan pulled out Lily's wedding ring and held it between them. They laughed as Emma mockingly tried it on. 3 years, Lily whispered. Was any of it even real? Thomas slammed the laptop shut with a sharp click. His jaw flexed with fury. I'll kill him. No, Lily said, placing a steady hand on her father's arm. That's not what I need from you right now. A knock on the door broke the moment. Lily tensed, but it was just Lisa, her makeup artist, arriving with her assistant, Megan. They paused at the threshold, immediately sensing the heaviness in the room. Is this a bad time? Lisa asked gently. We can come back in 15 minutes. Lily glanced at the clock. 90 minutes until the ceremony. Guests were already arriving, filling the Seacliffs grand ballroom, now transformed into a floral sanctuary. Her cousins from Portland, Ethan's colleagues from his firm. Nurses and doctors from Seattle Children's Hospital, all gathering for what they believed would be a celebration of love. No, Lily said, surprised by the calm in her voice. Come in, we're proceeding as planned. Thomas stared at her in disbelief. Lily, you can't possibly. Dad, she interrupted, her eyes sending a silent plea. Trust me. As Lisa began applying foundation to Lily's pale face, Megan busied herself chatting. Dr. Hayward just checked in. You know, the cardiac surgeon from the McAllister case? And I saw your friend Mia from nursing school downstairs with her husband. Oh, and Mr. Turner's parents arrived early. His mom was asking for you. Lily nodded, barely hearing her. Ethan's parents, Richard and Caroline Turner, had never quite accepted her. Richard, a self-made financial mogul, had hoped his son would marry someone from the corporate world, not a nurse who clocked 14-hour shifts. Caroline had been slightly more polite, but she wore disappointment like perfume. Would they be pleased now, knowing their son was actually in love with Emma? Lily's thoughts turned bitter. Emma, with her old Seattle money, her family's real estate empire stretched from the city to the coast. Her marketing firm served high-end international clients exclusively. In many ways, she was the daughter-in-law the Turners had envisioned. Lily? Lisa's voice broke through. You're very pale. Are you all right? Just wedding day nerves, Lily replied smoothly, even managing a soft smile. And this little one is doing somersaults. Lily placed a hand over her belly, feeling the flutter of movement beneath her palm. A small reminder of what truly mattered. Whatever happened today, she would shield her child from the storm. The door swung open again, and Emma swept in, her cheeks flushed. Sorry I'm late. The Mitchell account crisis is under control. She avoided Lily's gaze and made a beeline for the rack of bridesmaid dresses. Lily watched her through the mirror, this time seeing what she hadn't before. The slight disorder of Emma's usually flawless hair, the smudged edge of her lipstick. How many times had Lily ignored signs like these? How much had she refused to see? Emma, Lily said evenly, could you check with the wedding planner about the video setup? I want to make sure everything's perfect for the ceremony. Video setup? Emma blinked. I thought we agreed not to record it. I changed my mind, Lily said calmly. I want to capture every moment of this day, every single second. Something in her tone made Emma glance up sharply, but Lily had already turned her attention back to Lisa, the makeup artist. I think I'd like a bolder lip color, she said. Something memorable. While Lisa worked, Lily's mind reeled, flashing through memory after memory, now tainted with betrayal. She thought about the weekend Ethan claimed he was in San Francisco for meetings. He brought back a small gift, but no stories. Had he ever really left Seattle? Then her birthday. Emma had canceled last minute, blaming food poisoning. Lily had believed her. Had they been together that night, laughing at her expense? The pain was sharp now, coiled around her chest like iron. She inhaled deeply, drawing on the same calming techniques she used in the ER. Focus, compartmentalize, breathe. There would be time to feel it all later. All done, Lisa announced, stepping back. You look stunning, Lily. Lily turned toward the mirror. She barely recognized the reflection. The face was hers, but behind the flawless makeup was something new, something colder, harder. Thank you, she said. It's exactly what I wanted. As the artists began to pack up, Emma returned, scrolling through her phone. The video crew is good to go, she said, distracted. And the planner wants to know if you still want the dove release after the ceremony? Lily paused, then shook her head. No doves, she said. I don't think anything should be trapped today. Emma looked up, confused. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Lily replied, rising from her seat. I just think some things deserve to be free, don't you? Before Emma could answer, there was another knock. Lily's other bridesmaids, her cousin Rachel and her old roommate Danielle, entered, already dressed and glowing, ready to help. Look at you! Rachel exclaimed, wrapping Lily in a gentle hug. You're absolutely glowing. Lily returned the embrace with practiced warmth, though her movements felt mechanical. She noticed how Emma hovered in the background, eyes glued to her phone. Once upon a time, Emma would have been the first to pull Lily into a hug, teasing her about her pregnancy glow. The silence now, her distance, was yet another quiet betrayal. Ethan's looking pretty nervous, Danielle chimed in with a laugh. We saw him pacing in the groom's suite, checking his watch every 30 seconds. Is he? Lily asked mildly. How interesting. Rachel raised an eyebrow, giving her a curious glance. Everything okay, Lils? You seem different. Just focused, Lily replied. It's a big day, after all. While her bridesmaids busied themselves with last-minute details, Lily moved toward the window. She gazed down at the Seacliff's garden courtyard, where rows of white chairs had been arranged for the cocktail hour following the ceremony. Guests were already gathering, dressed in their finest, laughing and chatting, blissfully unaware of the betrayal unraveling above them. Among the crowd, Lily spotted Dr. Helena Kim, her mentor and the head of the pediatric unit. Helena had championed her since nursing school and helped her earn a place on the hospital's elite cardiac team. Beside her stood Rabbi David Feldman, an old friend of Thomas's, who had graciously agreed to officiate despite the interfaith ceremony. These were her people. People who believed in her joy, who had come to celebrate her future. How would they react when the truth came out? Lily turned back toward the room, her eyes falling on the wedding gown hanging from the closet door. The same dress she had spent months searching for, custom-tailored to flatter her growing belly. It had been perfect. She had envisioned this day so clearly, walking toward Ethan, seeing the love in his eyes, stepping into a future they had built together. Now that dream lay broken. In its place was something colder, harder, a resolve that felt unfamiliar but necessary. For a moment, doubt crept in. Maybe she should just call it off quietly. No drama, just walk away. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. "Can't wait to see you walking toward me. You're making me the happiest man alive today." The hypocrisy struck like a slap. That message, so full of performative love, only solidified her decision. He didn't deserve an easy out. Neither did Emma. They had plotted this betrayal together, smiling to her face while dismantling her world behind her back. Now, she would make a choice too. "Dad?" Lily said softly. Thomas looked up from where he had been talking to Rachel. "Can we have a moment?" Once the room cleared, Lily took her father's hands. "I need you to understand what I'm going to do," she said gently. "And I need your support, even if you don't agree." Thomas studied her face carefully. "You're going through with the ceremony?" "Yes," Lily said, "but not for the reasons they think." "Sweetheart, public humiliation won't heal." "What they've done to you," Thomas began carefully. "Lily, think about yourself. Think about the baby." "That's exactly who I'm thinking about," Lily said, her voice sharp with conviction. "Dad, they've been using me, using us. Ethan sees you as a career opportunity, a shortcut into hospital networks and boardrooms through your connections. And Emma," her voice cracked, 15 years of friendship," she whispered. "And she could look me in the eye every day, while sleeping with the man I was going to marry." She moved to the window, taking a moment to steady herself. "You always taught me to face things head on, to speak up. If I cancel this wedding now, they win. They get to rewrite the story, to make me out to be the unstable, hormonal, pregnant woman who backed out at the last second." She turned to face him again, her eyes ablaze with strength. "I won't give them that power." Thomas stood in silence for a long moment, processing the fire in his daughter's voice. "What exactly are you planning?" he asked. "The truth," Lily replied simply. "In front of everyone. No more hiding. They've lied to me, to everyone who came here to celebrate us. I want them to face it, not in secret, but under the lights, in front of every guest who believed in this day." "And after?" Thomas asked gently. "Have you thought about what comes next?" Lily placed a protective hand over her belly. "I'll figure it out," she said. "But I know one thing for sure. My child deserves to be born to a mother who stands up for herself, who doesn't bow to betrayal or accept manipulation, no matter how painful the alternative." Thomas's expression softened. He stepped forward and placed his hands gently on her shoulders. "Your mother would be so proud of you right now," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Not because you're perfect, none of us are, but because when faced with heartbreak, you're choosing courage." Lily leaned into his embrace, allowing herself a moment of comfort before the storm to come. "I'm so angry, Dad," she whispered against his shoulder. "Angry, hurt, scared, all of it." "I know, sunshine," Thomas murmured, carefully stroking her hair, mindful not to disturb her elegant updo. "And you have every right to feel that way. But remember this, what they did, that's on them. Their choices, their betrayal, it says nothing about your worth." Lily pulled back and wiped away a single tear before it could fall. "I need to get dressed," she said, checking the time. "The ceremony starts in 45 minutes. "Are you sure about this?" Thomas asked one last time. "We can still cancel. Say you're not feeling well." Lily shook her head, steady and sure. "I've never been more certain of anything in my life." The words echoed what she'd once said about marrying Ethan, but now they held weight, real weight, the weight of truth. When Thomas called the bridesmaids back in to help her into the gown, Lily caught Emma's eyes in the mirror. For a fleeting second, something like guilt flashed across Emma's face before she looked away, focusing on adjusting Lily's veil. "You look beautiful," Emma said, her voice oddly strained. "Ethan won't be able to take his eyes off you." "I'm counting on it," Lily replied softly. "I want his full attention when I say my vows," Lily said. Rachel and Danielle exchanged a glance at the edge in her voice but said nothing as they adjusted the train of her gown. The final preparations buzzed around her. Lipstick touch-ups, veil positioning, bouquets handed out like clockwork. Through it all, Lily remained calm. Almost too calm. Detached, even, like she was watching it unfold from somewhere else. The pain was still there, raw and sharp beneath her serene expression. But alongside it now was something stronger, resolve. It grounded her. The wedding planner appeared at the doorway, clipboard in hand. Everyone's seated. The musicians are ready. Lily gave the mirror one final glance. The woman looking back at her wasn't just beautiful in an ivory silk gown and polished makeup. She was changed, hardened by truth, strengthened by betrayal. "It's time," the planner said. Lily nodded, accepting her bouquet of white roses and baby's breath as her bridesmaids formed a line. Emma stepped forward to adjust Lily's veil one last time. "I love you, Lils," she whispered. "You deserve all the happiness in the world." For a heartbeat, Lily almost believed her. "Yes," she replied, meeting Emma's eyes directly. Her voice was soft but unshakable. "I do deserve happiness, and after today, I'm going to find it." With that, she took her father's arm, steadying herself for the ceremony that would redefine everything, dividing her life into before and after. The string quartet's version of Pachelbel's canon swelled through the ballroom as the massive double doors opened. 200 heads turned in unison. A collective breath caught. There stood Lily Anderson, radiant and poised, on her father's arm. The soft light filtered through the stained glass above, catching the folds of her gown and casting an almost otherworldly glow as she stood framed in the entrance. At the altar, Ethan Turner straightened his shoulders. His practiced smile slid into place. In his tailored charcoal tux, accented with an emerald pocket square to match the bridesmaids' gowns, he looked every bit the image of a man about to marry the woman of his dreams. But only Lily knew the truth behind that smile, the calculation behind his charm, the hollowness beneath his promises. "Ready, sunshine?" Thomas whispered, gently covering her trembling hand with his own. "Yes," Lily breathed. As she took the first step down the aisle, the room around her softened into a dreamlike blur. Faces, some familiar, some distant, fused into a sea of hopeful expressions. She caught sight of Dr. Hayward, nodding in approval. Ethan's mother dabbing at her eyes, her nursing colleague smiling from the third row. Her eyes locked on Ethan's face, studying it like she never had before. The practiced warmth in his gaze. The faint disingenuity behind the tilt of his smile. Now she saw it all. The performance. The mask he'd worn so convincingly for 3 years. In the front row, Richard Turner stood taller as she passed, finally giving her the approving nod she'd once longed for. Beside him, Caroline's smile seemed warmer than usual. Had Ethan's plan already started working? Was her pregnancy, the so-called complication, already softening them? To Ethan's right, the groomsmen stood at attention. Ethan's best man, Trevor, caught Lily's eye and gave a casual wink. Just behind Ethan, Emma stood stiffly among the bridesmaids, her complexion noticeably paler than usual. She gripped her bouquet so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her eyes darted from Lily to Ethan and back again. Each step down the aisle brought Lily closer to the moment she had replayed over and over in her mind. Her baby shifted within her, a tiny, living reminder of what truly mattered. This child deserved better. Better than a father who viewed them as a complication. Better than a mother who turned a blind eye to betrayal for the sake of image. When she reached the altar, Thomas placed Lily's hand into Ethan's with visible reluctance. Ethan's fingers wrapped around hers, warm, steady, perfectly rehearsed. "You look incredible," he whispered just loudly enough for those in the front row to hear. A perfect performance. Rabbi Feldman smiled benevolently at the couple before turning to address the crowd. "Friends and family, we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Ethan and Lily, 2 souls who have chosen to walk life's journey hand in hand." As he spoke, Lily kept her expression serene, even as her mind ticked through every calculated deception that had brought her to this moment. The work trips. The nights Emma said she was with other friends. The way both had gently encouraged Lily to throw herself into her hospital work, leaving them space to build a future without her. "Marriage is not entered into lightly," Rabbi Feldman continued, "but with reverence and with a deep commitment to honesty, fidelity, and mutual respect." Lily nearly laughed aloud. The irony stung her throat. She caught herself just in time. Behind her, she sensed Emma shifting on her heels. "Before we continue with the vows," the rabbi said, "as is tradition, I ask, if anyone knows of a reason why these 2 should not be joined in matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace." A heavy silence settled across the ballroom. Even the hum of distant Seattle traffic seemed to fall away. This was the moment, the traditional pause, the chance to speak, to stop everything. Lily smiled. Not yet. The timing had to be perfect. Rabbi Feldman gave a slight nod and moved forward with the ceremony. When it came time for the vows, Ethan spoke first. He took both of Lily's hands in his and began, voice strong and full of crafted emotion. "Lily," he said, "from the moment we met, I knew there was something different about you. Your compassion, your strength, your unwavering devotion to the people you care about, those are the qualities that made me fall in love with you." He paused, blinking as if to hold back tears. "Today, I promise to cherish you, to be faithful and true, to stand by you no matter what life brings. I vow to be the husband you deserve and the father our child needs. This is my solemn vow." A soft murmur of admiration passed through the guests. Even Thomas, knowing the truth, seemed momentarily shaken by the sincerity in Ethan's voice. "Lily?" Rabbi Feldman prompted gently. "Your vows." Lily took a deep breath. Centering herself, Lily let go of the vows she'd written and rewritten for weeks. Instead, she spoke words shaped by everything she had learned that morning. "Ethan," she began, her voice clear and unwavering, "I stand here today having learned something profound about love." She paused, locking eyes with him. "I've learned that true love cannot exist without honesty, that promises mean nothing without the integrity behind them." A flicker of confusion crossed Ethan's face, quickly replaced by his polished smile. In her peripheral vision, Lily noticed Emma freeze. "When I met you 3 years ago," Lily continued, "I believed I had found someone who valued truth as much as I do, someone who understood that real relationships are built on mutual respect." Her voice remained calm, but her pulse thundered in her ears. "Today," she said, "I've come to see what our relationship was actually built on." Ethan's expression faltered. Behind him, Trevor shifted uncomfortably, sensing something wasn't right. "I made a promise to myself long ago," Lily said, raising her voice slightly so that it carried all the way to the back of the room. "That I would never let myself be made a fool of. That I would never model for my child a version of love that tolerates lies and betrayal." Confusion swept the ballroom. Rabbi Feldman glanced toward Thomas, who gave him a subtle nod. "Ethan," Lily continued, her voice steady despite the tremor in her fingers, "thank you. Thank you for showing me exactly who you are. Before I legally tied myself to you." She turned slightly, addressing the guests, their faces a blur of stunned expressions. "I'm sorry to all of you who traveled to be here. I believed we were coming together to celebrate love and commitment, but instead, we are here to witness the end of a deception that has gone on far too long." Lily nodded toward the back of the ballroom, where Michael, the security guard, stood beside the AV setup. At her signal, he pressed a button. The massive screens, originally intended to give the guests a better view of the ceremony, flickered to life. And then, there it was. Ethan and Emma, seated in an intimate booth at the hotel bar. Their body language was unmistakable. A wave of gasps rippled through the room. The audio was painfully clear. "How much longer do we have to keep up this charade?" Emma's voice asked. "Just get through tomorrow," Ethan replied. "Once we're married, phase 2 begins. Lily's too trusting to ever suspect anything, and with the baby on the way, she'll be too distracted to see what we're doing. Her father's connections, he's our ticket to the top, babe." The footage continued, laying bare, in brutal clarity, the mockery, the manipulation, the strategy behind Ethan and Emma's betrayal. Every smirk, every whispered plan to use Thomas's hospital board influence, every calculated step toward abandoning Lily once Ethan had secured his professional standing. Lily watched Ethan's face lose all color as his own words condemned him. Beside him, Trevor instinctively took a step back, distancing himself from his friend. Behind them, Emma stood frozen, eyes wide, her face pale with horror. When the video ended, the silence in the ballroom was suffocating. Lily turned back to Ethan, oddly comforted by the raw panic etched across his face, no longer masked by the facade of the loving fiancé. Now she saw him clearly. And he knew it. "Lily," he began, his voice low, desperate. This isn't what it looks like. Emma and I, we were just what?" Lily cut in, her voice remarkably calm. "Just joking about my father's influence? Laughing about my pregnancy being a complication? Just planning how long you needed to fake loving me before tossing me aside?" Gasps rippled through the room. In the front row, Richard Turner sat stiff as a board, his expression thunderous. Beside him, Caroline covered her mouth in stunned silence. You don't understand. Ethan tried again, reaching for Lily's arm. She stepped back. No, I understand perfectly, she said. I understand that you and my maid of honor have been lying to me for years. I understand that my child, she placed a protective hand on her belly, means nothing to you except as a convenient tool to win my trust. From behind Ethan, Emma finally found her voice. Lily, please, she begged, stepping forward. It's not what you think. We never meant to hurt you. Lily turned, her eyes hard. That's the worst part, Em. You didn't even think about hurting me. I wasn't even real to you. I was just a step on the way up. Thomas moved beside Lily, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. I think we've heard enough, he said firmly. This ceremony is over. Wait, Ethan's voice cracked, turning desperate as whispers and shocked murmurs echoed through the room. Lily, be reasonable. Think about the baby. Think about what you're throwing away. Lily let out a short, incredulous laugh. What am I throwing away, Ethan? A marriage built on lies? A partner who mocks me behind my back? A father for my child who views them as an inconvenience? She shook her head slowly. No, I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing something better. For me and for this baby. From her seat, Dr. Helena Kim stood and moved quietly to stand beside Thomas, a quiet show of solidarity. Across the room, Lily's colleagues from the pediatric unit rose one by one, forming a protective arc behind her. Unspoken loyalty radiating in every step. You won't get away with this, Ethan hissed, his polished persona now in ruins. You really think anyone will want you now? A single mother with no husband? You need me, Lily. Before Lily could respond, another voice sliced through the tension. That's enough, Ethan? Richard Turner had risen from his seat, disgust etched into every line of his face as he glared at his son. You've disgraced yourself and this family. That's quite enough for one day. Caroline stood beside her husband. Her earlier tears were replaced with icy fury. We raised you better than this, she said softly. The disappointment in her voice was sharper than any scream. Ethan's face twisted with rage and humiliation. He turned back toward Lily, taking a step forward. You planned this, he accused. You set me up. No, Ethan, Lily replied calmly. You did this. I just refused to play the role you cast me in. Thomas stepped forward, positioning himself between Lily and Ethan. I suggest you leave now, Mr. Turner, he said, voice low. Before I forget, I'm a gentleman. The air in the room turned electric. For a moment, it seemed Ethan might explode, but Trevor stepped in, grabbing his arm. Let's go, man, he muttered. It's over. Ethan glared at Lily one final time, then allowed Trevor to lead him toward a side exit. The crowd parted in heavy silence to let them pass. Emma remained frozen, tears streaking down her cheeks. Lily, she whispered, her voice trembling. I'm so sorry. I never thought. That's the problem, Lily interrupted. You never thought about me at all. 15 years of friendship and you could betray me without hesitation. Emma flinched as if struck. What can I do? She asked weakly. How do I fix this? Lily looked at her with something between pity and resolve. You can't. Some things once broken can't be put back together. And with that, she turned away, closing the door on their friendship forever. Rabbi Feldman cleared his throat, addressing the stunned crowd. Friends, it's clear that this ceremony will not proceed as expected. I suggest we give Miss Anderson and her family some privacy. The guests slowly began filing out, some stopping to offer Lily quiet words of support, others casting cold stares at Emma, who remained rooted in place, mascara running down her cheeks. Dr. Helena Kim approached Lily, gently taking her hands. You handled that with extraordinary grace, she said softly. If you need anything, anything at all, call me, day or night. Thank you, Helena, Lily said, genuinely moved by the kindness. As the ballroom emptied, the adrenaline that had carried her began to fade. Her knees wobbled, and she sank into the nearest chair. Thomas was instantly at her side. You did it, sunshine, he said gently. I've never been prouder. Lily glanced around the empty ballroom, taking in the flowers, the decorations, all meant to celebrate a union that had now been revealed as a carefully constructed lie. What happens now, Dad? She asked, her voice finally small, vulnerable. Thomas gave her hand a gentle squeeze. Now we go home, he said softly. We regroup. We get ready for this little one. He placed his hand gently on her belly. And we remember, no matter how painful, the truth is always better than the most comfortable lie. Lily nodded and slowly rose from the chair. As she and Thomas walked toward the exit, they passed the altar where, in another version of reality, she would have been married by now. But the thought brought no regret, only relief. Relief that she had uncovered the truth before making the irreversible mistake of tying herself to Ethan. At the doorway, she paused and looked back at the room, at the place where her future had simultaneously unraveled and begun anew. Somewhere in the hotel, Ethan was likely fuming, watching his ambitions disintegrate. Emma, meanwhile, was left to reckon with the cost of her betrayal. 15 years of friendship reduced to a ruinous scheme. Yet, despite the heartbreak, the humiliation, Lily felt lighter than she had in months. The lingering suspicion, the weight of unspoken doubts, had finally lifted. In its place was something unfamiliar, a sense of strength she hadn't known she possessed. "Lily?" Thomas called gently from the hallway. She turned her back on the ballroom, on what might have been, and stepped into the future she would now claim for herself. "Let's go home, Dad," she said, her voice once again firm. "We've got a nursery to finish." The windshield wipers swept rhythmically against the October rain as Thomas's car pulled into the driveway of their Brookline home. 3 months had passed since the wedding, that wasn't, but for Lily, sitting quietly in the passenger seat, it might have been yesterday. The memories remained vivid: Ethan's expression when the video played, Emma's tearful pleas, the stunned silence of 200 guests who had witnessed both her devastation and her defiance. "You okay, sunshine?" Thomas asked, turning off the engine. Lily nodded, her hand resting on her now prominent 8-month belly. "Just tired," she murmured. "Dr. Patel says it's normal at this stage." The house, a stately Victorian that had been in the Anderson family for generations, had become Lily's sanctuary. After the wedding, she'd moved back in, converting the third-floor study into a nursery for the baby boy she now knew she was carrying. Inside, she sank onto the living room couch and kicked off her shoes with a deep sigh. The pregnancy had gone smoothly from a medical standpoint, but emotionally, every day remained a quiet battle. "Tea?" Thomas asked, already heading toward the kitchen. "Please," Lily called after him. She picked up her phone and scrolled through missed messages. 3 from Rachel, 1 from Dr. Kim, 2 from Eliza Johnson, a former nursing school classmate who'd been checking in regularly since the wedding. No messages from Ethan. And that was a relief. After his initial barrage of texts, some pleading, some accusing, his silence came only after Lily's lawyer made it clear his only role in the child's life would be financial. The legal agreement granted Ethan minimal visitation rights starting after the baby turned 1, with strict supervision and no overnights. Emma's attempts to reach out had been more frequent and more painful. 15 years of friendship had left their mark. Betrayal or not, the emotional ties didn't unravel easily. Lily had finally blocked her number after the 20th voicemail, each one more gutting than the last. Because each one didn't just remind her of Emma's betrayal, they reminded her of her own blind trust. "Here you go," Thomas said, returning with 2 steaming mugs. "Chamomile with honey, just the way you like it." Lily took the tea gratefully. "The nursery furniture's being delivered tomorrow," Lily said, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy. "The crib and changing table, at least. I'll be home to help set everything up," Thomas promised. "Though I still don't think you had to return that first crib. Your colleagues went out of their way." Lily stared down into her mug. "I couldn't keep it, Dad. Not after I found out Emma helped pick it out." She had donated the original crib to a local women's shelter. She couldn't stand to look at it, to imagine Emma's hands on it, choosing it, pretending to care. Even now, the thought triggered a visceral reaction, a sickening blend of grief and betrayal. She'd run her hands along the crib's smooth rail just once after the reveal, just long enough to feel the tremor in her fingers, the wrongness of it lodged in her chest. Her child's first resting place could not be rooted in deception. Thomas sat beside her, worry in his eyes. "Have you given any more thought to Dr. Banner's suggestion? About the support group?" Lily exhaled. Maya Banner, the therapist she'd reluctantly started seeing at Dr. Kim's encouragement, had been gently nudging her toward joining a group for single, expectant mothers. "I'm not ready," Lily admitted. "I'm not ready to tell strangers my story, not while it's still making the rounds online." Despite her best efforts, The wedding footage had gone viral. Someone, Lily suspected one of Ethan's more opportunistic groomsmen, had filmed the confrontation on their phone. Within days, the video had exploded across the internet. Some labeled her a hero, a fierce feminist taking a stand. Others painted her as a bitter woman intent on publicly destroying her fiancé. Professionally, the consequences had been complicated. She'd taken a leave from her position at the hospital, originally for a few weeks. But the attention had made her return untenable. Parents recognized her. Colleagues treated her differently, some with too much pity, others with inappropriate curiosity. The privacy and professionalism she had guarded so carefully were gone. Worse, she couldn't walk through a grocery store without fearing a sideways glance. Every whisper felt like it was about her, and the irony stung. She had exposed betrayal to protect her dignity, yet somehow lost it in the court of public spectacle. Maya says isolation isn't healthy, Thomas reminded her gently, especially now. I'm not isolated, Lily protested, motioning toward her phone. Rachel checks in daily. Helena calls every week. Eliza's been texting nonstop. I'm not alone. People who knew you before, Thomas said. Sometimes it helps to connect with those who only know the you that exists now. That stung. The you that exists now. Was she really someone else already? A version of herself rebuilt from the ruins? Lily didn't know yet who that woman was, and it frightened her more than she let on. Lily opened her mouth to respond, but suddenly a sharp pain lanced through her abdomen. She gasped, doubling over. Lily? Thomas was on his feet in a heartbeat. I'm fine, she managed, breathing slowly through the wave. Braxton Hicks, Dr. Patel said they'd get stronger. But then, another contraction, more intense, deeper, and then dampness beneath her. Dad, she whispered, fear dawning in her voice. I think my water just broke. Her eyes widened. It's too early. I'm only 34 weeks. Thomas stayed calm, already helping her to her feet. Come on, sunshine, he said firmly, guiding her toward the door. Let's get you to the hospital. Everything's going to be all right. The drive to Massachusetts General Hospital passed in a blur of pain and fear. Lily's medical training offered her no comfort. It betrayed her instead, her mind cycling through every possible complication of preterm labor, underdeveloped lungs, feeding issues, jaundice, each risk more terrifying than the last. At the hospital, everything happened fast. Lily was rushed to labor and delivery, monitors quickly attached to track both her contractions and the baby's heartbeat. 34 weeks is actually quite good, said Dr. Melissa Torres after a quick examination. Your baby boy's vitals look strong. We'll try to slow the labor, but even if we can't, his chances are excellent. Lily nodded, dazed. Her instincts tugged between two worlds, patient and professional. Steroid injections for lung development? She asked. Dr. Torres smiled. Already ordered. You know the protocol. Left alone briefly while Thomas contacted Rachel and Dr. Kim, Lily stared up at the ceiling, fighting off the rising tide of loneliness. This wasn't how she had pictured this moment. In her dreams, Ethan had been by her side, anxious but loving. Emma would have been in the waiting room, pacing nervously, waiting to meet her godchild. Instead, Lily faced the most transformative moment of her life, surrounded by skilled strangers, and her father, steadfast and loving, yes, but unable to fill the specific void carved out by betrayal. When the door opened, she expected a nurse with the promised steroid injection. Instead, a petite woman with cropped silver hair and kind eyes stepped inside, wearing scrubs and a calm smile. Ms. Anderson? I'm Dr. Vivian Reeves, neonatal specialist. I understand you're having some premature contractions. Lily nodded, already offering her arm. Dr. Reeves chuckled softly. Not quite yet. First, I'd like to talk to you about what's happening, and what to expect if your little one decides to come early. There was something about her tone, direct, calm, that grounded Lily. As Dr. Reeves explained NICU procedures and potential challenges for a premature baby, Lily's clinical side began to re-engage. She asked questions, listened, focused. You're remarkably composed, Dr. Reeves remarked after a detailed discussion on respiratory support protocols. Most parents in this situation aren't asking about ventilator settings. Lily allowed herself a small smile. I'm a pediatric cardiac nurse. Or, I was, until recently. Ah, Dr. Reeves nodded. That explains a lot, though in my experience, knowing too much can be both a blessing and a curse. Sometimes too much is better than not enough, Lily replied quietly, Wincing as another contraction hit, Dr. Reeves glanced at the monitor. "They're coming regularly now. I think your son may be on his own schedule." The next few hours blurred together, a haze of tightening pain, rapid medical decisions, and slow, growing acceptance. Her baby was coming. The steroid injections were administered. IV fluids set. And by midnight, Lily was fully dilated. "You're doing great," Dr. Torres encouraged as Lily began to push. "The NICU team is on standby, but your little guy's heart rate is strong and steady." Thomas had been unwavering, holding her hand through every contraction, dabbing her forehead with a cool cloth, whispering words of support as she fought to bring her son into the world. At 2:47 a.m., after 17 grueling hours of labor, Noah Benjamin Anderson arrived, announcing his presence with a surprisingly loud cry for a premature baby. He weighed 5 pounds, 3 ounces. He was whisked away immediately to a warming station where the NICU team began their evaluation. "Lily," Dr. Torres called, voice jubilant. "He's doing remarkably well. APGAR scores of 8 and 9. Relief flooded Lily's entire body. She trembled under its weight. After all the stress, the betrayal, the fear, her son was here. And he was healthy. "Would you like to hold him?" Dr. Reeves asked, approaching with a tightly swaddled bundle. "Just for a moment before we take him to the NICU for observation." Lily could only nod, her arms reaching instinctively. The moment Noah was placed on her chest, something shifted deep inside her, a tectonic movement of the soul. Her heart stretched to make room for a love so overwhelming it took her breath away. "Hello, Noah," she whispered, eyes fixed on his tiny, perfect face, his button nose, his soft, rosebud lips. "I'm your mom." Thomas leaned over them both, tears streaming freely down his cheeks. "He's perfect, sunshine. Absolutely perfect." And for a brief moment, everything else faded. The machines, the pain, the noise. There was only Noah, his strong little hand wrapping around Lily's finger, his dark eyes blinking up at her with complete, innocent trust. Then he was gone, gently taken to the NICU for monitoring. The absence of him left a hollow ache in her arms. "You should rest," Dr. Torres said, finishing post-delivery checks. "You've done beautifully. Noah's in excellent care." But rest didn't come easily. Later, in the quiet of her recovery room, Lily lay awake, reliving the birth, overwhelmed by emotions she hadn't expected. Joy at Noah's arrival clashed with the sharp sting of betrayal. Ethan should have been here. Would have been, if he had been the man she once believed he was. "Do you want me to call anyone?" Thomas asked, sensing her inner turmoil. "Rachel? Dr. Kim?" Lily shook her head. "Not yet." She hesitated. The next words came slowly. "Could you let Ethan know?" Her voice wavered. "He has a legal right to know his son was born, even if he doesn't deserve it." Thomas's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "If that's what you want." "It's not what I want," Lily admitted. "It's what's right." Thomas stepped out to make the call. Lily finally closed her eyes, exhaustion overtaking her. She drifted into restless sleep, her dreams filled with Noah's tiny face, his hands reaching for her across a widening distance. She awoke to morning sunlight filtering through the hospital blinds, and the sound of hushed voices. She opened her eyes. She found Thomas deep in quiet conversation with Dr. Reeves near the doorway. "How's Noah?" Lily asked immediately, trying to sit up. Dr. Reeves stepped forward with a warm, reassuring smile. "He's doing remarkably well for 34 weeks. Strong respiratory function, maintaining his temperature, and he even took a little formula from a preemie nipple. We're cautiously optimistic that his NICU stay will be brief." The relief that swept over Lily was instant and overwhelming. "When can I see him?" "As soon as you feel ready to walk to the NICU," Dr. Reeves replied. "Or we can bring a wheelchair if you prefer." "I'll walk," Lily said firmly, already swinging her legs over the side of the bed. Every movement reminded her she had just given birth, but nothing would stop her from getting to her son. 20 minutes later, properly gowned and scrubbed in, Lily entered the NICU with Thomas at her side. The soft beeping of monitors and hushed voices felt familiar, but experiencing this space as a parent instead of a nurse was surreal. Noah's incubator was tucked into a quiet corner, a relatively low-intervention setup compared to others around him. Despite his early arrival, he only needed supplemental oxygen and observation. "There's our little champ," a cheerful nurse greeted them. Her name badge read Marina. "He's been a rock star," she added with a grin. "Took his whole feeding earlier and has been sleeping soundly ever since." Lily pressed her hand gently against the plastic incubator, drinking in the sight of her son. When can I hold him again? Right now, if you'd like, Marina offered, already prepping the incubator. Kangaroo care is the best medicine we've got for preemies. A few minutes later, Lily was seated in a rocking chair, holding Noah skin to skin against her chest beneath a soft blanket. The moment she felt his tiny weight and warmth, a deep, healing calm swept over her. I'll give you two some privacy, Thomas said quietly. I'm going to grab a coffee and check in with Rachel. Alone now, Lily finally allowed the tears to come. Not sobs of grief, but quiet, steady tears of gratitude and strength. This tiny person was wholly dependent on her. His sense of self-worth, of safety, of love, would be shaped by her actions, her resilience. I promise you this, she whispered into Noah's soft, downy hair. You will never wonder if you are loved. You will never question if you matter. And you will know, without a doubt, that even the hardest paths can lead to the most beautiful places. She was so lost in Noah, she didn't notice the presence in the doorway until Marina stepped away from the incubator. Looking up, Lily froze. Ethan stood there, disheveled in jeans and a wrinkled button-down shirt, uncharacteristically out of place in this sterile, sacred space. Lily, he said, his voice too loud in the hush of the NICU. I came as soon as Thomas called. Marina looked between them, tension instantly registering in her body language. Mr. Turner, she said gently, would you like to meet your son? He's not, Lily began, but stopped herself. Whatever Ethan had done, Noah was still, biologically, his child. Yes, she said at last, this is Noah's father. Ethan approached cautiously, stopping a few feet from her chair. For once, the confident charm had vanished from his face. In its place was something raw, unguarded. He's so small. He's so small, Ethan murmured. He's premature, Lily replied, her tone neutral. 34 weeks. Ethan shifted awkwardly. Would it be okay if I held him? Lily's first instinct was to say no, to protect Noah from the man who once called him a complication. But then she looked down at her son's peaceful face, his tiny features soft and serene, and made a different choice. Her breath caught. There was a heaviness in her chest, a battle between memory and instinct. She remembered too clearly the sting of Ethan's betrayal, the way he had calculated their child into a strategy. And yet, here they were, two people once bound by love, now held together only by the infant sleeping between them. Her fingers brushed the soft curve of Noah's cheek. This wasn't forgiveness. But it was a chance, however painful, to let Noah know that he had never been a mistake. You can sit in that chair, she said, nodding toward the rocker beside hers. Marina will show you how to support his head. With Marina's guidance, the delicate transfer was made. Lily watched carefully, scanning Ethan's face for any trace of the calculated persona she had exposed 3 months earlier. But what she saw was unexpected. Gone was the polished confidence. In its place, a quiet awe. The vulnerability of a man completely undone by the fragile life in his arms. He has your nose, Ethan said softly. And your chin, Lily replied. She said nothing more, her emotions too tangled to name. Seeing Ethan cradle Noah brought back the dream she had once clung to, a life built on love, raising a child together, creating a family. That dream had been obliterated, and yet, here was a ghost of it. A cruel mirage of what might have been. The ache was sharp and sudden. She remembered the nights she had imagined this scene. Ethan in a hospital chair, their child in his arms, joy in his eyes. The reality was hollow, distorted by lies. But there was still something raw in his face. Not regret alone, but recognition that this child, this tiny person, was real, and his. After a few quiet minutes, Ethan gently handed Noah back to Lily's waiting arms. Thank you, he said, his voice rough, for letting me meet him. Lily nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. I know I have no right to ask for anything, Ethan continued. But I want to be part of his life. A real part, not just the guy who sends checks. We have an agreement, Lily reminded him, her voice steadier now. Limited visitation, after he turns 1. I'm asking you to reconsider, Ethan said. Not for me, for him. Every boy needs a father. Lily looked down at Noah, then back up at Ethan. What he needs, she said, are people who love him, who see him as a gift, not a burden, not a bargaining chip. Ethan flinched, her words his own turned back on him. I was wrong, he admitted, about everything. Seeing him now, holding him, I was so wrong. For the first time since the wedding, Lily allowed herself to really see Ethan, not the manipulator, not the charming con, but the man beneath it all. She saw genuine remorse, but beneath that, a flicker of something else. Awareness, control, the instinct to leverage every moment. Even now, part of him was performing. "I need you to leave," Lily said quietly. "I'll have my lawyer contact yours about revisiting the visitation agreement, but I can't do this today." Ethan hesitated. She saw the urge in him to say more, to push, but something in her eyes stopped him. "All right," he said finally. "But I meant what I said. I want to be part of his life." After he left, Lily exhaled slowly. The weight of his presence lifted from the room, and the tension began to ebb from her shoulders. Noah stirred softly against her chest. Noah's tiny fingers flexed in the air, as if reaching for something just beyond his grasp. "It's okay, little one," Lily murmured, rocking him gently. "We're going to figure this out, together." By the time Thomas returned with coffee in hand, Lily had made a decision. "I need to make some changes," she said as he sat in the chair Ethan had vacated. "For Noah's sake." Thomas gave her a cautious look. "What kind of changes?" Lily looked down at her son. His peaceful expression, the soft rise and fall of his chest, drawing strength from him. "I can't go back to the old house, not with Noah. Too many memories, too much. Past." She inhaled deeply. "I think I need to accept Dr. Kim's offer." Helena Kim had recently approached her about a new pediatric cardiovascular center she was opening in Providence, Rhode Island. Close enough to Boston to maintain connections, but far enough for a real fresh start. "Are you sure?" Thomas asked, concern in his voice. "That's a big move, especially with a newborn." "I'm sure," Lily replied. And to her surprise, it was the truth. Noah deserves a mother who's moving forward, not one stuck in what could have been. She met her father's eyes. "I've been living in rewind," she admitted quietly, repeating every moment, every conversation, trying to find the signs I missed. "It's like I've been afraid to step forward because I didn't trust my own judgment anymore." Her voice trembled slightly. "But then Noah happened, and no matter how uncertain I feel about everything else, I look at him, and I know I have to try. Not just for him, but for me too. And I deserve that too." Thomas reached out and took her hand, squeezing it. "Then that's what we'll do. I'll help with whatever you need." Lily smiled. For the first time in what felt like forever, it reached her eyes. "I know you will, Dad. You always have." As if sensing the importance of the moment, Noah's tiny hand closed around Lily's finger, his grip surprisingly firm. It felt like a promise, not of an easy road, but of one worth walking. What Lily didn't know, as she sat rocking her son in the NICU's hush, was that Ethan's appearance was only the first tremor. Outside, in the hospital parking lot, Ethan stood under the orange glow of a street lamp, phone pressed to his ear. The softness he'd shown moments ago had already hardened. "She's vulnerable right now," he told the person on the line. "With the baby early and everything, I think we can use this." 6 months later, Lily stood in her office at the Northeastern Pediatric Cardiovascular Center in Providence, watching a quiet snowfall blur the January skyline. The warmth of the modern building couldn't touch the chill she felt as she stared at the legal document on her desk. Ethan was suing for joint custody. The petition claimed her relocation had amounted to parental alienation, that she had deliberately interfered with his relationship with Noah. Attached were affidavits from character witnesses, one of them signed by Emma, vouching for Ethan's supposed reform and commitment to fatherhood. Lily's phone lit up with a text from Helena. Meeting pushed to 2:30. "Everything okay?" She typed out a quick yes, even though the truth was anything but. Since Noah's birth, Lily had rebuilt her life piece by piece. The move. The new job as head nurse of the CIU. A small apartment near the water where she and Noah had established a quiet routine. Thomas visited weekly. Lily had even joined the single-parent support group Dr. Banner once recommended. And Noah, now 6 months old, was thriving. His dark eyes followed everything, filled with the kind of sharp awareness that made Lily think he'd inherited more than just her chin. He was her center, her joy, her purpose. And now Ethan was threatening it all. A knock at her office door pulled Lily from her thoughts. "Come in," she called, quickly sliding the custody documents into her drawer. Dr. Marcus Chen stepped inside. His usual high energy was notably subdued, As the center's lead pediatric cardiologist, Marcus had become both a trusted colleague and friend during Lily's transition to Providence. "Got a minute?" he asked, closing the door behind him. "I wanted to go over Katie Sutton's case before the team meeting." "Of course," Lily replied, grateful for the shift in focus. Katie Sutton, a 4-year-old with a complex congenital heart defect, was scheduled for surgery next week. Her most recent echo showed mild improvement after medication adjustments, but her pulmonary pressures still concerned Lily. They fell into an easy rhythm, discussing treatment options, pre-op strategies, and possible post-op complications. Working with Marcus was one of the rare, steadying gifts of her new life. His intellect was impressive, his compassion for his young patients genuine and constant. "You seem a little off today," Marcus said gently, once their conversation wrapped. "Everything okay?" Lily hesitated. She'd worked hard to keep her private life separate from her professional one. But Marcus always had a way of reading her too well. "Legal stuff," she admitted. "Noah's father is filing for joint custody." Marcus's face hardened slightly. Like most of the staff, he knew the basic story, the wedding, the viral video, but Lily hadn't shared much beyond that. "That sounds incredibly difficult," he said carefully. "Is there anything I can do?" Lily gave a small shake of her head. "It's something I have to handle myself, but thank you." After Marcus left, Lily reluctantly pulled the custody petition from her drawer again and forced herself to read it thoroughly. Ethan's legal team had constructed a striking narrative. A young father who had made mistakes but was now deeply committed to his child. A mother emotionally unstable who had publicly humiliated him before fleeing out of state, cutting him off from his son. The description of Lily boiled her blood. They'd twisted her strength into instability, her bravery into vindictiveness, her decision to protect Noah into a weapon against her. Her phone buzzed. It was Diane Winters, her attorney. "I've reviewed Ethan's petition," Diane said without preamble. "It's aggressive, but not surprising given his financial resources. We need to meet and talk strategy." Lily leaned back in her chair, eyes closed. "How serious is it?" she asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper to avoid being overheard in the hallway. "Serious enough," Diane replied. "He's hired Braina and Associates. They specialize in father's rights cases," Diane said, her voice steady. "But we have strong counter-arguments, especially regarding his absence during the first months of Noah's life." They scheduled a meeting for the following evening, and Lily hung up feeling slightly more grounded. Diane was a force. Once a respected family court judge, now a fierce advocate for mothers navigating high-conflict custody battles. The rest of Lily's day passed in a blur of patient consults and administrative tasks. By the time she picked up Noah from the center's employee daycare, she was drained, but determined not to let the anxiety steal their evening. Noah greeted her with his newest milestone, a gummy smile that proudly displayed 2 tiny bottom teeth. As she buckled him into his car seat, Lily felt that familiar swell of protective love, the foundation of everything now. "Just you and me against the world, little man," she whispered, kissing his forehead. At home, they eased into their routine. Playtime on the colorful mat Thomas had gifted Noah for Christmas, a warm bath in the infant tub, then a bottle while Lily read from a worn book of children's poetry. These rituals were sacred to her, a reminder, every day, of what really mattered. After tucking Noah into his crib, Lily poured herself a glass of wine and opened her laptop to draft an email to Thomas. She had just started typing when the doorbell rang. Frowning, Lily glanced at the clock, 8:57 p.m. Too late for casual visitors. Through the peephole, she saw Ethan standing outside. His face was unreadable. Her heart spiked. She considered ignoring him, pretending she wasn't home, but that would only delay the confrontation she knew was coming. Taking a breath, she opened the door with the security chain still engaged. "What are you doing here, Ethan?" she asked, her voice even but wary. "We need to talk," he said. "About Noah. About all of this. My lawyer will contact yours," Lily replied coolly. "That's how this works now." Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair, a gesture she once found endearing, but now saw for what it was, rehearsed vulnerability. "Can we not do this through lawyers?" he asked. "Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Against her better judgment, Lily released the chain and opened the door. 5 minutes. Noah's asleep, and I won't have him disturbed." Ethan stepped in, his eyes scanning the room. His gaze lingered on the framed photos of Noah, the toys scattered on the floor, the quiet order of Lily's new life without him. "Nice place," he said. "Smaller than I imagined." "It suits us," Lily replied simply. "What do you want?" Ethan turned toward her, his expression shifting into one she knew too well, the practiced sincerity he used when closing a deal. "I want us to work this out, amicably, for Noah's sake." "By amicably," Lily said, "you mean I should agree to everything you want without a fight?" "They're not demands, Lily," Ethan said, his voice strained. "They're rights. I'm his father, a biological fact you've barely acknowledged." "Where were you during the first 3 months?" Lily countered. "Where were you during the 3 a.m. feedings? The pediatrician visits? The moments he needed you?" Ethan's jaw clenched. "You moved to another state without even telling me." "You've seen him twice since he was born," Lily shot back. "Don't act like you didn't have a choice. You had plenty of choices. You chose to cheat on me with my best friend. You chose to call our son a complication. You chose to disappear when it was inconvenient to show up." "People change," Ethan insisted. "Becoming a father, it changed me. Just give me a chance." "This isn't about second chances," Lily said firmly. "It's about Noah. He deserves a father who sees him as a blessing, not leverage." Ethan took a step closer, his voice softening. "What if we could start over? All of us. I ended things with Emma. I realized what really matters." The mention of Emma twisted something in Lily's chest. The name struck her like a slap, sharp, disorienting. She remembered the lies, the stolen moments, the betrayal etched into every step of her pregnancy. Emma had held her hand at ultrasounds, laughed over baby names, and all the while been part of Ethan's deception. To hear her name now, summoned as proof of growth, felt like a fresh insult, and yet she submitted an affidavit in support of your custody petition. She said coldly. "That was before," Ethan said quickly. "It's different now. I'm different." Lily studied him, searching for even a flicker of truth beneath the practiced sincerity. Her breath caught, somewhere between disbelief and rage. He stood there, polished as ever, with carefully chosen words and soft tones. But she saw through the cracks, the impatience in his posture, the tightness in his jaw, the way he always circled back to what he wanted. Not what Noah needed. Not what was right. Just the next move in his endless game of control. But all she saw was what she'd seen before, manipulation. Smoother now, better rehearsed, but still the same core intent. "Your 5 minutes are up," she said quietly. "Please leave." "Lily? Now, or I call security." He held her gaze, then nodded stiffly. "You'll be hearing from my attorneys." At the door he paused. "For what it's worth, I do want to be part of his life. No matter what you think of me, he deserves to know his father." Once he was gone, Lily leaned against the door, her heart pounding. She pressed her palm flat against the wood, willing herself to stay upright. The moment he left, the stillness of the apartment felt deafening. 1,000 unspoken fears swirled in her chest. What he would try next, how far he might go, and beneath it all, the quiet, gnawing ache of disappointment. Because a small, buried part of her had still hoped for something real, and Ethan had shattered even that. Ethan's appearance had rattled her more than she wanted to admit. The ease with which he'd found her address, the certainty with which he confronted her. It spoke of resources, strategy, a kind of control that unsettled her to her core. The following morning brought more fallout. Lily arrived at her office to find Helena Kim already waiting, her expression grim. "We've received a formal inquiry from Massachusetts Child Protective Services," Helena said, placing a letter on Lily's desk. Lily's stomach dropped. "What? On what grounds?" "Anonymous concerns about emotional instability and parental alienation," Helena replied, barely containing her disgust. "The timing makes the source obvious." "Ethan," Lily whispered. Cold fury began to replace her shock. "He's behind this." "Most likely," Helena nodded. "It's not uncommon in custody battles. Some parents file frivolous CPS reports to create a trail of doubt about the other's fitness." Lily sank into her chair, overwhelmed. "What does this mean for my job?" "Nothing," Helena said without hesitation. "Absolutely nothing." "The center stands behind you, Lily. Completely," Helena said firmly. "But you should prepare for an inspection and an interview. Once a report is filed, it triggers standard protocol, regardless of merit." The next 2 weeks unfolded like a waking nightmare. The CPS investigation ultimately found no concerns. But just the existence of the inquiry created the kind of record Ethan's legal team could point to in court. Lily's apartment was inspected, her parenting scrutinized, her mental health quietly assessed, all while she continued to lead a pediatric ICU. Diane worked relentlessly, filing motions to dismiss Ethan's petition, compiling documentation of his nearly non-existent role in Noah's life. But the legal system moved with agonizing slowness, each day bringing new anxiety and uncertainty. To Lily's surprise, Marcus became an unexpected pillar of support. He quietly adjusted surgery schedules around her court appearances, left coffee on her desk during difficult mornings, offered to cover shifts without asking for details. His unobtrusive kindness became a lifeline she hadn't realized she needed. Then, 3 weeks after Ethan's late-night visit, Diane called. "They've escalated," she said, her tone sharp. "Ethan's lawyers are requesting an emergency custody hearing. They're claiming you're planning to leave the country with Noah." "That's ridiculous," Lily snapped. "I have no such plans." "I know it's absurd," Diane agreed. "But the judge assigned to your case, Judge Hamilton, is known for being sympathetic to fathers' rights arguments. He may grant the hearing. What happens if he does? In the worst case, the judge could issue a temporary custody order, placing Noah primarily with Ethan while the case proceeds." The very idea sent a bolt of panic through Lily's chest. She had fought through betrayal, premature birth, viral humiliation, all of it, to build a safe, stable life for her son. Losing him, even temporarily, was unthinkable. "There has to be something we can do," she said, struggling to keep her voice steady. "There's one strategy," Diane said carefully. "We could file a motion to move the case to Rhode Island. Noah's primary residence is clearly established here. It may buy us time. And if the judge denies it, it could backfire. Hamilton might view it as combative." "Do it," Lily said without hesitation. "Whatever keeps Noah with me." The emergency hearing was scheduled for the following week. Lily poured herself into preparation, working alongside Diane to build a clear, documented picture of her life as a mother. They compiled pediatric records showing every appointment attended, letters from Noah's doctor confirming Lily's attentiveness, screenshots of text threads and payment records, proof of Ethan's late and limited financial support despite his wealth. The night before the hearing, Lily sat quietly in Noah's nursery. He slept peacefully in his crib, one fist curled against his cheek. The soft glow of the nightlight illuminated the bookshelves, the mobile, the pastel walls she had painted herself. The thought of this child, her child, being uprooted from this safe, warm space, taken to Ethan's sleek, empty condo, tears stung her eyes. "I won't let him take you," she whispered. Gently stroking Noah's cheek, Lily whispered, "I promise." Morning came too quickly. She dressed carefully in a conservative navy suit, her hair pulled into a neat low knot. Every detail had been chosen to project stability, calm, and maternal strength. Thomas arrived early to care for Noah. His quiet presence was a source of comfort, an unspoken vote of confidence. "You've got this," he told her, holding her in a tight embrace. "The truth has to count for something." The courthouse loomed large as Lily and Diane ascended the stone steps. Inside, they found Ethan already waiting, flanked by 3 attorneys in expensive suits, their briefcases bulging with paperwork. "Intimidation tactic," Diane muttered. "Stay focused." As they waited to be called into the courtroom, Lily's attention was drawn to a familiar figure rushing through security. Emma. She looked disheveled, nervous. Her eyes scanned the hallway in a panic until they landed on Lily. Despite herself, Lily turned away, unable to look at the woman who had helped dismantle her life. But Emma didn't stop. "Lily," she said softly, approaching with visible hesitation, "I need to talk to you. It's important." "We have nothing to say to each other," Lily replied coldly. "It's about Ethan," Emma insisted, "his custody claim. You need to hear this before the hearing." Diane stepped in immediately. "Any communication should go through counsel." "There's no time," Emma said urgently. "Please, Lily, just 5 minutes." There was something in her voice, desperation, fear, that gave Lily pause. 5 minutes, she said, ignoring Diane's glare. "That's all." They stepped into a nearby conference room, silence humming between them. The weight of 15 years of shattered friendship hung heavy in the air. "Make it quick," Lily said, folding her arms. Emma drew a breath. Ethan's lying about everything. He hasn't broken things off with me. He's been living with me for the last month while pursuing this custody case. Why should I believe a word you say? Lily asked sharply. Because I have proof. Emma placed her phone on the table. Recordings of Ethan, talking about his real reasons for seeking custody. It's not about Noah. It never was. Lily stared at the phone, her suspicion warred with instinctive dread. What is it about then? Control, Emma said, voice low. He wants control over you? He's planning to use Noah to leverage negotiations with your father's hospital connections. He said it. He's going to use Noah as a bargaining chip. It fit. Every calculated move Ethan had made. It was a perfect echo of the man Lily had seen standing behind the mask on her wedding day. Still, trust once shattered was not easily rebuilt. Why are you telling me this now? Lily demanded. After everything you did, why help me? Emma's composure cracked. Tears welled in her eyes. Because this has gone too far. Using a child, I can't be part of that. And because I owe you, at least this much. She pushed the phone toward Lily. The recordings are all here, Emma said, sliding her phone across the table. Text messages too. Use them however you need to. Lily looked from the device to Emma's face, studying her carefully, searching for a lie, but what she found instead was resignation and remorse. This doesn't change what you did, Lily said quietly. What you both did. I know, Emma whispered. I'm not asking for forgiveness. But Noah deserves better than to be a chess piece in Ethan's games. The sound of her son's name grounded Lily, focused her. It made the decision easy. She picked up the phone and quickly forwarded the files to her own. I'll need to verify these. Of course, Emma said, nodding. There's one more thing. You should know, Ethan filed the CPS report himself. Lily froze. I have proof of that too, Emma added. Before Lily could respond, a court officer appeared at the door. Matthew's Turner custody hearing is about to begin. Lily turned back to Emma, holding her gaze. Are you willing to testify to this under oath? Emma hesitated, then lifted her chin. Yes, it's time I did the right thing, no matter the cost. Inside the courtroom, Judge Hamilton, a stern man in his 60s with wire-rimmed glasses and a reputation for father-favoring rulings, flipped through the case file with obvious impatience. Ethan sat at the plaintiff's table, flanked by his legal team, each in tailored suits, each exuding polished confidence. Before the hearing could begin, Diane rose. Your Honor, we have newly surfaced evidence directly relevant to the plaintiff's motives and credibility. It must be entered into the record. Ethan's lead attorney was on his feet instantly. Objection. Any such evidence should have been submitted during discovery. This material only just came to light, Diane countered calmly, and it speaks directly to the plaintiff's fitness as a parent and the truthfulness of his claims. Judge Hamilton frowned. What's the nature of the evidence? Audio recordings and text messages, Diane explained. They clearly show Mr. That Turner's custody petition is not driven by concern for his son's well-being, but by a calculated attempt to gain leverage over Ms. Anderson, and by extension, her father's hospital network. A wave of whispers rippled through the courtroom. Ethan leaned in toward his attorneys, whispering furiously. But Diane wasn't finished. We also have documentation showing that Mr. Turner himself filed the anonymous CPS report used to initiate this emergency motion, fabricating the very concerns he cites as justification. Judge Hamilton's expression turned grim. These are serious accusations, Counselor. Do you have a witness to authenticate the evidence? Yes, Your Honor, Diane replied confidently. Emma Lloyd is present and prepared to testify under oath. Lily turned toward the gallery just as Ethan did. Their eyes met Emma's. His face was a study in disbelief and betrayal, hers calm, steady, and filled with the same resolve Lily had once known in herself. And in that instant, Lily understood. No matter what the court decided, she had already won the most important battle, not just for Noah's safety, but for her own truth. She had taken back her voice, her worth, her power. The woman who had once stood frozen, reading that damning hotel note nearly a year ago, she was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, wiser, someone utterly determined to protect what mattered most. The court will hear this evidence, Judge Hamilton declared, his previously sympathetic tone toward Ethan now chilled. Miss Lloyd, please come forward to be sworn in. As Emma approached the witness stand, Ethan's calm cracked for good. This is a setup, he shouted. leaping to his feet. "She's lying. They're working together to keep my son from me." "Mr. Turner, control yourself," the judge warned sternly, but Ethan was beyond reason now. "You don't understand what she's capable of," he ranted, gesturing wildly toward Lily. "She humiliated me, took my son to another state, and now she's turned Emma against me too." "Your Honor," his lead attorney cut in quickly, clearly panicked. "We request a brief recess to confer." "Denied," Judge Hamilton said flatly. "Mr. Turner's behavior speaks volumes about his temperament and judgment, qualities highly relevant in a custody determination." And so the hearing continued. Emma's testimony direct and damning, the digital evidence dismantling Ethan's case piece by piece. With every minute, Lily felt a strange but steady sense of closure building. The man she had once loved enough to marry was now dismantling his own credibility, not in the shadows, but in the full light of day. By the time the ruling came, Ethan's emergency motion denied and a court-ordered psychological evaluation required before any further custody proceedings, Lily knew this chapter was closing. Not in chaos, but in truth. Outside the courthouse, as reporters gathered and Ethan's lawyers scrambled, Lily turned to Emma one last time. "Thank you," she said simply, "for doing the right thing." Emma nodded. Her eyes were glassy with regret. "He won't stop, you know." "Not completely," Lily agreed, "but now I know exactly who I'm dealing with, and so does the court." She walked away, toward Thomas, waiting nearby with Noah, toward the life she'd built from the ruins. And she felt lighter than she had in months. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Co-parenting with Ethan would always require vigilance. But now Lily faced it with clarity, not fear. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus, heard the news. Celebration dinner tonight? My treat." Lily smiled. The simple gesture warmed her more than any grand gesture could. "Lily, rain check. Tonight's for Noah and me." Some victories didn't need to be celebrated publicly. Some were best honored quietly, in the safety of home, with the tiny person who had given her the strength to fight when she thought she couldn't. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But today, Lily Anderson had reclaimed her power. She had protected her child, and proven to herself that sometimes the hardest battles lead to the most meaningful triumphs. The spring air was fresh with salt from the Atlantic as Lily pushed Noah's stroller along the Providence waterfront. At 15 months, he was thriving, healthy, curious, and increasingly verbal. And he was hers. His early arrival into the world was now just another detail in Noah's story. Part of it, but no longer the defining chapter. "Boat," Noah shouted, his chubby finger pointing excitedly toward the harbor, where sailboats bobbed gently on the breeze. "That's right, sweet boy," Lily said, pausing the stroller. "Those are sailboats." A full year had passed since the courtroom confrontation that ended Ethan's legal maneuvering. What came after had unfolded in ways Lily never could have predicted, shaping her life, her perspective, and her relationships in profound and sometimes surprising ways. Judge Hamilton's ruling had only been the beginning. Following the dismissal of Ethan's emergency petition, the court ordered a full custody evaluation, including psychological assessments for both parents. The results had been damning for Ethan. The court-appointed psychologist documented narcissistic traits and manipulative behaviors in detail. Based on the findings, the final custody arrangement granted Lily full legal and primary physical custody. Ethan was awarded only limited, supervised visitation, 4 hours, twice monthly, at a Providence Family Center. He was also required to complete parenting classes and individual therapy before any reconsideration of unsupervised time with Noah. He had, of course, threatened to appeal, defaulting to intimidation and legal posturing, but the damage was done. The recordings Emma provided had leaked beyond the courtroom. Several of Ethan's high-profile clients had heard them and walked away. His polished image took a blow that even his lawyers couldn't fix. "Lily!" She turned at the sound of her name. Marcus was jogging toward her, dressed in athletic gear, his smile widening when he spotted Noah. "Fancy seeing you two out here," he said, slowing to a walk beside them. "Saturday morning constitutional," Lily replied, smiling. "Noah's been fighting a cold all week. This is our celebration walk. He's cleared to go back to daycare Monday." "Marcus," Noah squealed, recognizing his familiar friend. He squirmed in his stroller straps, arms outstretched. "Hey there, little man." Marcus crouched down to Noah's level. "Looking better today," He glanced up at Lily. Still good for dinner tonight? Helen and Priya are looking forward to it. Wouldn't miss it, Lily assured him. Their friendship had grown steadily over the past year, natural, supportive, and quietly consistent. It had remained just that, friendship. But in Marcus, Lily had found something rare. Presence without pressure, support without condition. And perhaps something more. In time. Now Marcus was simply part of their lives, a steady presence that Noah adored and that Lily had come to quietly, increasingly depend on. After promising to see them that evening, Marcus jogged off and Lily resumed their walk along the water, the stroller wheels bumping softly over the path. Her life, her entire social circle, had transformed so profoundly in the past year. Helena Kim had become more than a mentor. She was a true friend now, often including Lily in family dinners with her wife Priya and their teenage twins. Through the single-parent support group Lily had finally joined, she'd formed genuine bonds, particularly with Ella Jacobson, another nurse and single mom, whose daughter was just a few months older than Noah. And then, of course, there was Thomas. He'd chosen not to return to Boston, instead accepting a consulting role with a Providence hospital, one that allowed him to stay close to Lily and Noah while continuing the work he loved. He bought a small colonial home just 20 minutes from Lily's apartment, a second sanctuary for Noah. Filled with hand-carved wooden toys, shelves of storybooks, and the kind of patient, unconditional love only a grandfather could provide. Lily's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Emma. A familiar tightness settled in her chest, an old blend of ache and gratitude, the echo of a friendship that could never truly be recovered. Emma. The foundation approved the grant proposal. The children's wing breaks ground in October. Thought you'd want to know. After the hearing, Emma had made a complete life pivot, stepping away from the marketing firm to launch a nonprofit supporting children of divorce and high-conflict custody cases. It was equal parts atonement and reinvention. Lily paused, then typed, "Lily, that's wonderful news. The children deserve it." They had settled into this careful, neutral rhythm. Not friends, not enemies. Just two women with a complicated past and a mutual understanding. Emma had moved to New York, her social circles in Boston fractured. Some praising her courage and testifying against Ethan, others condemning her disloyalty. The foundation had become her anchor, a way to create meaning from the wreckage she helped cause. Lily had agreed to serve as a consulting nurse for the children's wing of their first project, a family center designed for supervised visitations and custody exchanges. She remained professionally helpful, but emotionally distant. Emma respected the boundary without question. "Mama, park!" Noah's eager voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Yes, sweetheart," Lily smiled, unbuckling him. "Park time." He toddled toward the slide, his curls catching the late morning light, his determined little face focused on the challenge of climbing. And in those moments, watching him, Lily saw herself reflected, not in the man who had tried to manipulate their lives, but in her son's resilience, his joy, his fierce concentration. A private triumph. She settled on a nearby bench, eyes always on Noah, while her thoughts drifted forward. Her career had blossomed, alongside all the personal chaos. Helena had recently promoted her to director of nursing for the cardiac unit, a role that reflected not only her clinical excellence but the leadership and tenacity she had displayed throughout her custody battle. The promotion hadn't been easy. Longer hours, heavier responsibilities, hard choices about staffing and patient care protocols. But it had brought something else too, something deeper, a renewed sense of purpose, a sense of stability, and the financial means to provide Noah with everything he needed without relying on anything more than the court-mandated minimum from Ethan. Noah's delighted laugh pulled Lily back to the present. He had just landed in a giggling heap at the bottom of the slide, his curls bouncing as he scrambled back up to try again, full of determination and joy. Every day, his resilience stunned her. This child, who had entered the world too early, weathered a legal storm before his first birthday, was growing into a secure, joyful little person. The custody evaluation had raised concerns about how Ethan's inconsistency might impact Noah as he got older. The psychologist had warned Lily to prepare for questions, confusion, even anger, once Noah began to understand his family's dynamics. But for now, at 15 months, he accepted his world as it was. Time with Mama. visits with Grandpa Thomas, and occasional supervised hours with the man he called Daddy, but didn't yet miss when he was gone. Ethan had, predictably, approached the court-ordered parenting classes and therapy with minimal sincerity. He went through the motions, attending sessions, sharing updates on social media, but never really engaged. His visits with Noah were much the same. He brought pricey toys, took countless photos, used the same polished, enthusiastic tone he used in boardrooms. What he didn't do was connect. He never knelt to play on the floor, never asked about Noah's routines, his quirks, or his words, never cared enough to know his bedtime song, his favorite book, or the way he liked his toast. Noah, to him, was not a person. He was a role, a status update. The court-appointed supervisor had noted it all in her reports. Likely why Ethan's recent petition for expanded visitation was denied. His reaction had been, predictably, about himself. Angry voicemails blaming Lily for turning people against him, threats of more legal action, which eventually gave way to silence and missed visits. Because being a father, truly being one, took more than money or appearances. It took presence. Up, Noah cried, arms raised toward the sky as a gull soared above them. That's a seagull, Lily said, crouching beside him. They live by the ocean. Gull, Noah repeated, eyes wide with focus. These simple moments were Lily's anchors. Not the drama, not the court. This, ordinary wonder, daily joy. The quiet right to raise her son in peace, to shape how he saw the world, to build the safe, loving foundation she had once only dreamed of. After an hour at the playground, Noah's energy finally waned. Lily tucked him back into the stroller, his eyes already heavy with sleep. They walked slowly home, the salty breeze trailing behind them. Inside their apartment, walls lined with Noah's handprints, crayon art, and photos of their chosen family, Lily settled him into his crib. As she watched him drift into sleep, her thoughts turned to the evening ahead. A dinner with friends, laughter, warmth, and perhaps something new. Not because she needed saving, but because she was finally whole enough to share the life she'd fought so hard to build. Dinner with Marcus, Helena, and Priya had become a cherished monthly tradition, a chance for adult conversation, laughter, and connection that Lily had come to treasure deeply. But tonight held extra weight. Lily planned to share a decision she'd been quietly weighing for weeks. The opportunity had come unexpectedly. Dr. Vivian Reeves, the neonatal specialist who had overseen Noah's care during his NICU stay, had recently reached out with an intriguing proposal. She was launching a specialized NICU follow-up clinic in partnership with the Northeastern Pediatric Cardiovascular Center. Its mission, long-term care for infants with congenital heart conditions who were also born prematurely. Dr. Reeves wanted Lily to serve as clinical director. She cited Lily's unique combination of pediatric cardiac expertise and her lived experience as a mother of a NICU baby. The position offered greater responsibility, better pay, and, more importantly, a meaningful opportunity to support families through the very journey Lily had walked herself. But accepting would require change. It meant more travel between hospitals, longer hours during the clinic's startup phase, and higher visibility, something that could potentially draw Ethan's attention back to her professional life and reawaken old manipulations. From the nursery, Noah stirred in his sleep before resettling with a soft sigh, one hand tucked under his cheek. Lily stood watching him, letting his peaceful presence center her, as it always did. This was her new reality. A life filled with growth, promise, and opportunity, but one that demanded constant awareness, a careful weighing of every decision against its ripple effect on Noah. No choice was simple anymore. Not when another life depended on her being both bold and cautious, ambitious and fiercely protective. Later that evening, after leaving Noah in the capable hands of Emily, Rachel's daughter and now a nursing student, Lily arrived at Helena and Priya's warm, inviting Victorian home in College Hill. The familiar sounds of chatter and laughter filtered out as she rang the doorbell, Marcus's deep laugh unmistakable above Helena's even-keeled voice. "You're just in time," Priya said, opening the door with a wide smile and accepting the bottle of wine Lily brought. "Helena's telling Marcus about the disaster board meeting," she added in a mock whisper, leading Lily into the kitchen. "The one where Dr. Peterson fell asleep?" Lily asked, following with a grin. "Because if so, she's definitely not exaggerating. I was there." The evening flowed with the comfort of deep friendship. Dinner on the enclosed porch, overlooking Helena's pristine garden, the conversation drifting between work stress, funny stories, and recent milestones. When Lily finally shared Dr. Reeves's offer, the response was instant and unanimous. "You'd be perfect for this," Helena said, topping off Lily's glass. "Your experience with Noah gives you insights most clinicians can't offer," Helena said firmly. "That kind of lived experience, combined with your clinical knowledge, it's irreplaceable." "The travel's my biggest concern," Lily admitted. "With Ethan still unpredictable, I worry about not being as available for Noah as I need to be." Marcus leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "What if you had more support?" he asked. "Structurally, I mean. I have my dad, and Emily's been amazing as a sitter," Lily replied. "But they've got full lives of their own." "I'm thinking more permanent support," Marcus continued. "The center's been considering expanding daycare for staff, longer hours to better match medical schedules." "If Helena signs off," he added, glancing over. Helena nodded slowly. "It's already in next quarter's budget. We could move it up if it helps your decision." A wave of gratitude hit Lily. These weren't just colleagues. They were her people, her professional family. And they didn't just understand, they acted. "It would help tremendously," Lily admitted. "But there's still the Ethan factor. The more visible I become professionally, the more likely he is to resurface with demands." "Has he made any moves?" Helena asked, her voice hardening. "Not directly," Lily said, "but his child support's been inconsistent, and he's canceled his last 2 visits at the last minute." "It's a pattern," she added. "He's ramping up to something, probably another court motion." "You've got solid documentation," Marcus pointed out. "Every missed visit, every payment lapse, and the psychologist's report is still on file. If he tries anything, you're in a much stronger legal position now." "Legally, sure," Lily agreed. "But emotionally, I don't know if I have it in me to go through all that again." Priya, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "When I left my first husband," she said, "my mother told me something I've never forgotten. Don't make decisions based on what your ex might do. Make them based on what you need to do, for yourself and your child." "Living in reaction to Ethan's potential moves gives him power," she added. "Power he hasn't earned." The simple truth hit Lily harder than she expected. For too long she had made choices from the edges of fear, always anticipating Ethan's next play. It had become a quiet kind of control, one he didn't deserve. "You're right," she said softly. "I can't shape my life or Noah's childhood around avoiding Ethan. We need to live our lives." The conversation shifted to logistics and planning, but Priya's words stayed with her. This idea of choosing from strength, not fear. It was another turning point in her evolution, from betrayed fiancé to centered, empowered mother and professional. Later, as the evening wound down and they migrated to the living room for coffee, Marcus turned to her. "Want me to drive you home?" "I'm capable of calling a rideshare," she said with a teasing grin. "I've heard they're quite reliable." "Humor me," Marcus replied with a smile. "Besides," Marcus added as he pulled onto the road, "there's something I want to talk to you about." In the car. He was quiet longer than usual. They were halfway to Lily's apartment before he finally spoke. "I've been offered a position," he said, eyes still on the road. "Chief of Pediatric Cardiology at Boston Children's." Lily's breath caught, an unexpected rush of emotion rising in her chest. Pride for him, gratitude for all he'd done, but also a pang of sadness at the thought of losing his steady, daily presence. "That's amazing," she said sincerely. "Boston Children's would be lucky to have you. When would you start?" Marcus pulled into a parking spot outside her building and turned to face her fully. "That's the thing," he said. "I haven't decided whether I'll take it." Lily blinked. "Why not? That's a huge opportunity." He exhaled slowly. "Because it would mean leaving Providence, leaving the center, leaving you and Noah." The air in the car seemed to thicken with his words. Lily's heart skipped, then thudded with confusing intensity. She hadn't let herself imagine how much he'd become part of their life until the thought of his absence pressed against her chest like a weight. He wasn't just part of her routine, he was part of her stability, her growth, her tentative belief that something lasting could come again. The words hung in the air between them, simple, honest, and heavy with unspoken meaning. Their relationship had evolved carefully over the past year, intentionally slow, thoughtful, respecting Lily's space to heal after Ethan, respecting the complexity of coexisting as colleagues, co-parents, friends, something more. "Marcus," Lily began, her voice soft, "I don't want to be the reason you pass on your dream job." "You're not the reason," he said gently. "You're a consideration. There's a difference." There was no agenda in his voice, no manipulation, just truth. Lily swallowed. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying," Marcus said steadily, "my career isn't the only thing that matters to me." He held her gaze. "The connection we've built, you, me, Noah, it matters. A lot. Enough that I'm exploring options. Helen's offered to create a joint research directorship with Brown. I could stay in Providence, grow professionally, and we'd be working together," Lily finished for him. He nodded. "If you accept Dr. Reeves's offer, we'd be collaborating professionally, and whatever we are personally." That made her smile despite the swirl of emotion. "And what are we, Marcus?" she asked quietly. He didn't flinch. "Friends, obviously, but more than that, I think. We've both been cautious, understandably, after Ethan, for Noah, for work, all good reasons. But," she prompted gently, "but eventually, caution becomes a wall," he said softly. "And walls, they keep things out as much as they keep things safe. I care about you, Lily, and I care about Noah, more than I ever expected, more than feels sustainable with this indefinite ambiguity." Lily felt her defenses shift, just slightly. In his eyes, there was no pressure, only presence. The kind she'd longed for without realizing it. She wasn't being asked to leap, only to acknowledge that she stood on solid ground. He wasn't pushing her. He wasn't demanding a label or offering an ultimatum. He was just telling her the truth. And in a world where she'd once been gaslit, manipulated, and emotionally undermined, that truth meant everything. "I need time," Lily said finally. "Not because I don't feel the connection too, but because getting this right matters too much to rush." Marcus nodded, relief evident in his face. "I can wait." And this time, the silence between them felt like possibility. "Time," Marcus said gently, "is something I can offer. I don't need to decide about Boston for another month." They sat in companionable silence as the car idled outside Lily's building, the quiet filled with possibility. And for the first time, she allowed herself to picture a future she hadn't dared imagine. One where professional growth and personal joy didn't have to be at odds. One where Noah might have a consistent, caring male presence, not for show or social image, but someone who saw him, cherished him for exactly who he was. It was exhilarating and terrifying, because every step toward trusting again held the echo of betrayal. But staying frozen, that meant letting Ethan continue to shape her world. And she wasn't willing to give him that power anymore. "Noah asks for you," Lily said quietly, "on the days you don't visit. He calls you Marcus, and he looks for you at the dinner table." Marcus smiled, the warmth reaching his eyes. "I look for him too, and you. No declarations, no promises, just simple truth." In the year since they'd met, Marcus had proven his character not through grand gestures, but small, consistent actions. Respecting boundaries, showing up, loving Noah not because of Lily but with her. "Let's both take that month," Lily said. "You to decide about Boston, me to think about Dr. Reeves's offer. Then we talk," she added, "about what's next, professionally, personally." Marcus reached across the console and gently took her hand. Agreed. The next morning dawned clear and golden. Lily woke before Noah, using the quiet moments to reflect. The offer from Dr. Reeves, the tentative beginning of something new with Marcus, the ever-lurking specter of Ethan's unpredictability. But for the first time, her thoughts weren't defined by fear. She could see a future now, not as a reaction to betrayal, but as something she could build, thoughtfully, boldly, not to erase what had happened, but to ensure it didn't define what came next. Noah's chatter crackled through the baby monitor. She found him standing in his crib, hair mussed from sleep, grinning wide when she entered the room. "Mama, up!" She lifted him into her arms, burying her face against his warm skin, breathing in baby shampoo and dreams. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Ethan's legal antics, the juggle of career and motherhood, the fragile unfolding of new love, she would meet them, because she could. The woman who had once stood betrayed in a wedding gown was gone. In her place stood someone who knew exactly what she was worth, and what she would never again settle for. "Mama, eat now?" Noah asked, patting her cheek. "Yes, sweet boy," Lily said, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "Breakfast time." As they headed toward the kitchen, her phone chimed. An email. She glanced at the screen. Subject: offer confirmation, clinical director role. Lily smiled. It was time to move forward. Not as a reaction to the past, but as the author of her own next chapter. The email from Dr. Reeves confirmed their meeting later that week, an official conversation about the clinic position that could mark the next chapter in Lily's career. Outside, Providence stirred to life in the gentle sweep of spring. Once, this city had been a temporary refuge. Now it was home. From her kitchen window, Lily could see the harbor in the distance, sails catching the early tide, boats gliding out into the open water. The sight reminded her of something her father had said during the darkest stretch of the custody battle. Life is like sailing, sunshine, Thomas had told her. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. The storm may shift your course, but it doesn't have to dictate your destination. She had adjusted her sails again and again since that day at the altar. She'd found her footing through grief, anger, healing, and growth. She'd steered her life by her own compass, guided not by fear, but by intent. The journey had surprised her, but the destination? It was finally becoming clear. A life grounded in authenticity, not appearances. In conscious choice, not reactive survival. Bang, bang. Noah banged his spoon on the tray of his high chair, grinning. Hungry, he announced with toddler conviction. Lily smiled, moving with practiced ease to prepare his breakfast. Patience, little sailor, she said. We've got all day, all the time in the world. And they did. Whatever choices lay ahead, about Dr. Reeves's offer, about the evolving relationship with Marcus, about how to navigate Ethan's lingering presence, Lily would face them from a place of hard-won wisdom. The betrayal that had once threatened to define her had instead revealed her. 5 years later, the crisp autumn air carried the scent of salt water and fallen leaves as Lily stood at the edge of a small crowd, watching her 6-year-old son cut a ceremonial ribbon with a comically oversized pair of scissors. Flashbulbs popped. Noah grinned wide and gap-toothed, bowing dramatically as the mayor of Providence announced, "The Matthews Reeves Family Center is officially open." Applause rippled through the crowd. Lily couldn't help but smile. Her once fragile, premature baby now stood tall and confident, his curly hair tousled in the wind, his eyes full of mischief and light. He still bore traces of Ethan's features, but his heart, his quiet empathy, his determination, that was all him. And it was her, too. From beside her, Dr. Vivian Reeves stepped forward, leaning slightly on her cane. At 72, she had retired, but her presence remained the soul of the center's mission. "He's a natural," Vivian said, nodding toward Noah as he charmed a local reporter. "Spotlight doesn't scare him a bit." "Takes after his mother," Lily replied, laughing. Vivian arched an eyebrow. "You? The same woman who spoke before the state medical board last month, like she was born for it? That grant wouldn't have happened without you." Before Lily could respond, Marcus appeared beside her, their 18-month-old daughter perched on his shoulders, squealing with delight. Lily reached for his hand, her smile softening. This was their life now, not perfect, but chosen, earned. Noah spotted them from across the lawn and ran to greet his sister, scooping her into a hug as Marcus crouched down. Lily stood back, taking it all in. This center, this city, this family. She had written her own ending, and a beginning that was entirely hers. "Mama," Luna called, stretching her tiny arms toward Lily from Marcus's shoulders. He smiled and obliged, carefully settling their toddler on her feet. Luna immediately took off in a joyful wobble run, wrapping herself around Lily's legs. "Successful ribbon cutting," Marcus reported, leaning in to kiss Lily's cheek. "Noah's now entertaining the governor with an in-depth analysis of the playground specs." Lily laughed as she hoisted Luna onto her hip. "Or a future negotiator. He convinced me to give him ice cream before dinner last night." "Like mother, like son," Marcus teased. "You convinced the board to fund an entire wing of the center." The Matthews Reeves Family Center stood as a testament to everything Lily had rebuilt in the 5 years since Noah's birth. Professional growth braided tightly with personal healing. What began as a collaboration between Dr. Reeves's NICU follow-up clinic and Lily's expanded role as Director of Family-Centered Care had become something far greater. A facility that supported families navigating childhood medical crises through medical care, psychological support, and social services. "Mom," Can I show Luna the new playground? Noah called, jogging up, cheeks flushed with pride. It's finally done. Of course, Lily replied, setting Luna down. But stay where we can see you. As the children darted toward the colorful climbing structures, Lily leaned into Marcus's side, exhaling a soft breath of gratitude. Their journey, colleagues, to friends, to family, had unfolded slowly, carefully. On her terms, in her time. Marcus had turned down the Boston job and instead accepted Helena's offer to lead a new research directorship in Providence. Their professional partnership deepened alongside their personal one. When Noah turned 3, they'd exchanged vows in a quiet ceremony in Thomas's garden. And then, when they thought their circle complete, Luna arrived. A joyful surprise. Despite early concerns about fertility following Noah's complicated birth, Luna came into their world with dark, curious eyes like Marcus and a fierce little spirit that mirrored Lily's. She fit perfectly, and was fiercely adored by Noah, who took big brother duties very seriously. Lily Matthews? A voice asked tentatively. Lily turned to see a woman in her mid-30s approaching, professionally dressed, a little nervous. I'm Jessica Walsh, she said. From the Governor's Family Policy Initiative. I was hoping to talk with you about expanding this model statewide. Of course, Lily replied warmly. Let me introduce my husband, Dr. Marcus Chen. He's been integral to the medical side of things. As the three of them spoke, Lily glanced toward the playground, where Thomas was now surrounded by 2 squealing grandchildren, lifting Luna as she demanded to fly higher on the swing. At 69, he remained agile and joy-filled, balancing consulting work with grandparenting like it was the best job he'd ever had. Lily smiled, not because everything was perfect, but because it was real. Hard-earned, built on integrity, boundaries, and the quiet, persistent decision to move forward, not from bitterness, but from purpose. And in that moment, surrounded by laughter, legacy, and the future unfolding before her, Lily Matthews knew she had not just survived, she had thrived. Their conversation with Jessica ended with promises of follow-ups and planning sessions. As Lily excused herself to rejoin her father and children, Noah ran up, breathless with excitement. Grandpa says we can have ice cream after the party, he announced proudly. Did he now? Lily raised an eyebrow in mock suspicion at Thomas, who only shrugged, utterly unapologetic. Ceremonial ice cream, he clarified with a grin, a time-honored tradition for successful ribbon cuttings. You're incorrigible, Lily sighed with a smile. That's what grandparents are for, he said with a wink, to strategically undermine parental authority. Their easy banter was interrupted by a vibration from Lily's pocket. She glanced down at her phone, and her smile faded slightly. Everything okay? Marcus asked quietly, noticing the shift in her expression. It's Ethan, she said, stepping away to take the call. Hello, Lily? Ethan's voice was tight, lacking its usual sheen. I won't be able to take Noah next weekend. Another canceled visit, the 3rd this year. Lily forced her voice to remain steady. May I ask why? I'm relocating, Ethan replied abruptly. London. The firm offered me a senior role, Europe division. I leave next week. She stood still for a moment, processing. Ethan's presence in Noah's life had remained peripheral, superficial at best. He had tried to expand his role after Lily's marriage to Marcus, filing for additional visitation, only to quietly withdraw when faced with another psychological review. I see, Lily said finally. And when were you planning to tell Noah? That's actually why I'm calling, Ethan said, surprisingly hesitant. I was hoping maybe you could explain it to him. He relates to you better. Lily closed her eyes for a beat. The old Ethan, avoiding responsibility, repackaging convenience as compassion. No, she said firmly. He deserves to hear it from you, Ethan. He's 6. Old enough to remember promises not kept. There was a long pause on the line. You're right, Ethan finally said. I'll come by tomorrow, if that's okay. I'll tell him. We'll be home after 3, Lily replied. After hanging up, she returned to the playground. The kids were with Thomas, climbing, swinging, laughing. Marcus stepped beside her, sensing the weight of the moment. Everything all right? He asked gently. Ethan's moving to London, Lily said. He wants to say goodbye to Noah. Marcus's hand closed warmly around her shoulder. How do you feel? Lily thought for a long moment. Mostly relieved, she said. His inconsistency has been harder on Noah than full absence would be. This might actually be cleaner. They watched as Noah fearlessly scaled the climbing structure, focused and agile. He had never clung to fantasies about Ethan, had never vilified him either, just absorbed his reality and adjusted accordingly. Lily credited Marcus's steady presence for that. But she also credited Noah's innate strength. He was his mother's son, after all. "He'll be okay," Marcus said quietly, his voice firm with certainty. "We'll make sure of it." The remainder of the ribbon-cutting ceremony passed in a haze of handshakes, congratulations, and photos. But as the crowd thinned and the sun dipped lower in the sky, Sophia found herself gravitating toward a quiet alcove on the center's east wing. There, mounted on the wall in understated bronze, was a plaque she had personally designed, in recognition of those whose difficult journeys inspire our work. Not part of the main dedication, not in the press materials. This plaque was for her, for the truth behind everything that had led her here. Without Ethan and Ariana's betrayal, without the pain of the custody battle, without the slow, brutal process of rebuilding her identity, she might never have conceived this center. Never envisioned a place where families navigating medical and emotional crisis could find support under one roof. "Here you are." The voice behind her was soft, familiar. Sophia turned. Ariana stood a few feet away, her appearance nearly unchanged, yet something in her eyes seemed softer. Their contact over the years had been minimal. Occasional emails regarding the foundation Ariana had built, which had partially funded the center's legal advocacy program. "Congratulations," Ariana said. "The center is remarkable." "Thank you," Sophia replied, maintaining the careful distance they had long observed. "Your foundation's grant made a real difference. We appreciated the support." Ariana glanced at the plaque, then back to Sophia. "Is it strange that I feel proud of you?" she asked quietly. "I have no right to that feeling, I know." Sophia hesitated. "It's complicated," she admitted. "Everything between us is." Ariana nodded. "I saw Noah during the ceremony. He's grown so much. He looks happy." "He is," Sophia said simply. "We are." The silence that followed was thick with memory. 15 years of friendship, 3 of betrayal, 5 of cautious silence. There was too much history, too much pain, for small talk to feel natural. "I'm moving back to Boston," Ariana said finally. "The foundation's expanding. I'll be overseeing East Coast operations." Sophia nodded, unsure what to say. Part of her, some distant, nostalgic part, missed what they'd once had. But another part remained guarded. The wound had healed, but the scar remained. "I don't expect us to be friends again," Ariana added, as if sensing her thoughts. "Too much has happened. But I wanted you to know, watching you rebuild, create this, it helped me find my own way forward." Before Sophia could reply, Noah came bounding around the corner, Luna toddling determinedly after him. "Mom, Luna wants to see the fish pond," he said breathlessly. "But I told her we had to ask you first." Sophia smiled, brushing a hand through his hair. "Good call, buddy." She introduced the children briefly, noting the way Ariana's eyes lingered on them, particularly on Noah, with a wistful expression. He greeted her with polite distance, but his attention was already on his sister and the koi pond. "I should let you get back," Ariana said. "Congratulations again, really." She turned to go, but paused. "For what it's worth, I'm truly sorry, Sophia. I always will be." Sophia watched her walk away, the finality of the moment settling gently in her chest. Not closure through reconciliation, but acceptance. And maybe in some way, that was enough. It would help people. As Ariana walked away, Sophia felt something unexpected settle in her chest. Closure. The woman who had once been so central to her life, so deeply entwined in its unraveling, now stood at the edge of her story. Neither enemy nor friend. Just a reminder, complex and distant, of how far Sophia had come. "Mom, can we see the fish now?" Noah asked, tugging at her hand, his sister toddling just behind. "Of course, sweetheart," Sophia smiled, letting them guide her to the garden pond, where Marcus and Thomas were already waiting. Later that evening, after the kids were tucked into bed and Marcus was reviewing patient files in his home office, Sophia stepped out onto the back deck of their harborside home. The lights of Providence shimmered across the water, soft and steady, like stars that had forgotten how to fall. Thomas joined her moments later, handing her a glass of wine. "Quite a day," he said, settling into the chair beside hers. "Quite a journey," Sophia replied, accepting the glass. They sat in companionable silence, the kind forged only through time, through storms weathered side by side. Thomas had been her unwavering constant. He had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. Supported without judgment. Celebrated each quiet win. "I saw you speaking with Ariana," he said at last. "I did," Sophia nodded. "It wasn't as hard as I expected, like seeing someone from a life I no longer live. Familiar, but distant." "Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting," Thomas said gently, "or resuming relationships that no longer serve you." "No," Sophia agreed, "but it does mean letting go of the weight those relationships used to carry. Today I realized Ariana and Ethan don't define me anymore." Thomas studied her thoughtfully. "And who does define you now, sunshine?" Sophia looked out at the water. The question deserved more than an easy answer. "I'm still figuring that out," she admitted. "I'm a mother, a wife, a medical director, an advocate, all roles I love, but not the full picture." She turned toward him, finding comfort in his patient, expectant eyes. "What I do know is that I'm no longer the woman who lets betrayal shape her life. I'm the woman who built something new from it." Thomas reached out and squeezed her hand. "That's not just survival, sweetheart. That's triumph." From inside came the soft wail of Luna, more a protest than distress. Sophia stood, smiling. "Duty calls." "It always does," Thomas chuckled. "It's the interruptions that make a life." Sophia moved through the quiet house, passing a wall of photos that charted her unexpected journey. Noah holding Luna as a newborn, Marcus teaching Noah to fish, Thomas surrounded by grandchildren. A wedding photo, Sophia in white, Marcus beside her, Noah proudly in the middle. A life she hadn't dared to dream was now the one she couldn't imagine leaving. Not perfect, but real. In the nursery, Luna's cries grew louder. Sophia scooped her up with practiced grace, holding her close. "I'm here, little one," she murmured, rocking gently in the moonlight. Outside, the harbor waited in silence, its tide steady, its presence constant. That water had once felt like distance. Now it felt like home. The betrayal that had nearly broken her had instead become her compass, revealing a strength she never knew she had. A woman who could lose everything and still choose hope. In Luna's soft breathing against her chest, Sophia heard it. Not just the beating of a mother's heart, but the rhythm of a life reclaimed. Dear friend, there will be moments in life when the ones we trusted most become the source of our greatest pain. It is in those moments, not of triumph but of trembling, that our true nature begins to surface. Sophia's journey reminds us of a central truth rooted in Stoic philosophy. We are not defined by what happens to us, but by how we respond to it. Betrayal may have shattered the life she imagined, but it also revealed the courage to build something far more real. She didn't just survive the storm, she chose to steer through it. And in doing so, she discovered a new kind of peace. Not from forgetting the past, but by refusing to let it weigh down her future. Like Sophia, we all carry the power to rebuild. Brick by brick, day by day. Choice by conscious choice. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe, because someone out there might need this reminder too. Let's keep building stories that heal.